Chapter 512, The Personal Arrival of a Saint Ruler. Even the Imperial Protector in the room felt quite indignant after listening to Qing Xiaofan's story. The sect of Dragon and Tiger knew that Jian Chen was an Imperial Protector for our Qinhuang Kingdom and still dared to attack him. This is simply an act against our Qinhuang Kingdom. Qing Xiaofan, you acted appropriately. We of the Qinhuang Kingdom must protect the millennia of honor our country has built up. We will simply not allow anyone to challenge or make an enemy of our Qinhuang Kingdom. You may leave first. I will go discuss with the other three. Yes, honored Imperial Protector, Qin Xiaofan will be taking his leave then. Qin Xiaofan spoke respectfully before bowing with his body and leaving the room with a light step to his feet. After Qin Xiaofan had left, the doors had abruptly opened, revealing a white-robed middle-aged-looking man that slowly walked out. The middle-aged man didn't look past 40 years old, but his hair was completely white. There was nothing to hold his hair up, so his hair hung freely over his shoulder like a silver waterfall. The man's face was stalwart. His pitch-black eyes contained a depth similar to the stars in the night sky. They seemed to hide even the world itself, but from the light in his eyes, it was as if there was another expansive world to be seen in there. This middle-aged man was one of the imperial protectors of the Qinhuang Kingdom, Qin Yunlong. Qin Yunlong was a member of the imperial palace and had been the king for the kingdom 1,000 years ago. Not long after he had abdicated the throne, he made a breakthrough to reach the paramount realm of a saint ruler. From then on, he hid himself away in the Qin Heaven Palace where very few had seen him. After Qin Yunlong exited his room, he walked toward the other palaces. Passing through the drawing room at the center, several maids could be seen chatting there. As a maid within the Qin Heaven Palace, their statuses were among the highest in the Qinhuang Kingdom. There weren't many things to do in the Qin Heaven Palace aside from cleaning and any other everyday affairs. The imperial protectors spent all their time within their rooms cultivating, and aside from anything major, they would never come out. Some of the maids had gone tens of years without hearing the voice of one of the imperial protectors. When Qin Yunlong appeared without a sound right in front of these maids, they immediately halted their conversation to stare at Qin Yunlong in brief amazement. Even their most basic manners had been forgotten at that moment. Although some maids had been in the Qin Heaven Palace for many years, they had never personally seen the imperial protector before. There were very few people aside from them that would visit the Qin Heaven Palace since not many people had even the right to do so in the first place. Even the guards on the outside would never dare enter the palace without something serious to report. So when this middle-aged man appeared in front of the maids, they were stunned for a good while. Ever since they had been hired to come to the Qin Heaven Palace, they had never seen a stranger enter it. Not paying attention to the maids, Qin Yunlong walked toward the gates. As he approached the gates, they swung open without a sound. Seeing Qin Yunlong disappear past the gates, the maids finally regained their wits. Thunderstruck, one of the maids let out a low gasp. Dear heavens, he can't be the honored imperial protector, could he? Hearing this, the other maids immediately became as pale as a sheet. I didn't think that the honored imperial protector would actually come out. It's all over, we didn't greet him at all. This isn't respectful to the imperial protector at all. In the case that the honored imperial protector is offended, that'll be a capital offense for all of us. Outside the Qin Heaven Palace, the imperial guard standing watch at the gates saw Qin Yunlong and were stunned as well. However, they immediately shaped up. They knelt down on their knee. This petty officer pays his respects to the honored imperial protector. The captain guard boomed first. He had already watched over the Qin Heaven Palace for 100 years, and the last time he had seen the imperial protector Qin Yunlong had been at least 50 years ago. He knew full well that this person in front of him was one of the paramount saint rulers of the Tian Yuan continent. This petty officer pays his respects to the honored imperial protector. The moment the imperial captain had mentioned honored imperial protector, every single imperial guard standing watch over the Qin Heaven Palace immediately knew who this Qin Yunlong was and knelt down to the ground. There is no need to be so polite, rise. Qin Yunlong rose both palms up, causing several hundred imperial guards to feel an immovable pressure come up from beneath their knees, bringing them up. Qin Yunlong traveled through the imperial palace, and with each step he took, he traveled a few dozen meters. In a flash, he arrived at the other Qin Heaven Palace. When he entered the Qin Heaven Palace, 3 elders had already gathered at a table. These 3 elders all had their hair tied up in a crane style, and aside from this, they were not that unordinary looking. Each one of them was extremely common in appearance, just like an ordinary elderly man. On the side, there were several maids trembling in fear as they poured tea. Qin Yunlong didn't even greet anyone there. He instead walked straight to his magnificent throne at the table. "Elder Qin, what matter did you call us 3 here for?" One of the elders spoke. His voice was quite high-pitched as if he was speaking from a horn. Qin Yunlong thought for a moment before speaking. It primarily pertains to Jian Chen. After that statement, he told the other 3 elders what Qing Xiaofan had told him. "I may have heard of this sect of dragon and tiger before. They were established a few thousand years ago, but that saint ruler they have only made the breakthrough 1,000 years ago. From what I know, they only have one saint ruler. Yet, they still have the cheek to act against our Qinhuang kingdom." An elder spoke. A single saint ruler still dares offend our Qinhuang kingdom. It seems in the 1,000-year peace for our kingdom, there have been several factions that have seen fit to remove us from their eyes. Qin Yunlong spoke. "What do the 3 of you propose we do about this? Jian Chen has a talent that exceeds all else. There is no one else in history who has been able to reach the Heaven Saint Master realm at such a young age as he did. With access to the Holy Lands, there is no need to debate if he will become a saint ruler, he may very well become a saint king. Thus, he holds a very important position in our Qinhuang kingdom. If the saint ruler of the sect of dragon and tiger dares act against him, then we cannot just sit idly, otherwise, Jian Chen may very well hold us complaint." "I agree with that. No matter if we deal with the sect of dragon and tiger as a way to protect the honor of the Qinhuang kingdom or as a substitute for Jian Chen's response, we must all see this through in person. Do you all agree?" Another elder spoke. Qin Yunlong chuckled. "I was a member of the imperial palace of the Qinhuang kingdom, and this matter concerns the prestige of my Qinhuang kingdom. There is no way I could not do anything. Harry and I will be all that's needed to go." "That'll do. With you two, there'll be nothing to worry about even if the sect of dragon and tiger has outside help. When will you two set out?" "It is best not to delay matters, we will leave now." Afterward, Qin Yunlong and Harry called in Qing Xiaofan. He led the 2 saint rulers to the space gate to leave the Qinhuang kingdom. In the center of the imperial palace in the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, there was a fist-sized hole in the middle of a large clearing. In that hole was another fist-sized crystal. Just at that moment, a multicolored light came flashing out from the previously ordinary-looking crystal. After that flash, the space above it began to ripple and twist before gradually forming a 3-meter-high doorway. When the space gate formed, Jian Chen and the other 12 individuals immediately sensed it. Flying into the middle of the palace at high speeds, they came to a stop right in front of it. After the space gate had completely stabilized, one was able to clearly see the scene within the space, the imperial palace of the Qinhuang kingdom. Qing Xiaofan and 2 imperial protectors from the Qinhuang kingdom stepped through the space gate. The space gate then winked out of existence after they crossed. "We pay our respects to the honored imperial protectors." The 12 imperial advisors bowed in salute. They were all of the Qinhuang kingdom and knew of the first 4 imperial protectors of the Qinhuang kingdom. Jian Chen stared curiously at the middle-aged and elderly man behind Qing Xiaofan. Although he knew that both of them were saint rulers, his heart did not feel anything out of the ordinary. This was because he had seen this type of existence many times before. The first had been those dozen elders back in Mercenary City, and then the mother of the white tiger cub, Rum Guinness. Then, there was the old ape king of the spirit apes. All of them were of the saint ruler realm. After seeing so many saint rulers, Jian Chen had gradually grown insensitive to them, and no longer felt as excited as he had the first time he saw one. The eyes of the two saint rulers gathered on Jian Chen before the elderly one smiled. "You must be Jian Chen." Jian Chen cupped his hands together. "This one is Jian Chen, I pay my respect to my seniors." "Jian Chen, there is no need for the politeness. I am Qin Yunlong, the 173rd generation king of the Qinhuang kingdom. By my side is Harry, although he is not of our kingdom, he is my best friend." Qin Yunlong smiled, speaking to Jian Chen as if they were on equal standing. In the eyes of the Qinhuang kingdom, Jian Chen was the future pillar of the kingdom. Although there was currently 4 saint rulers for the Qinhuang kingdom, they would not live forever. One day, there would come a time for their lives to end. Seeing how amiable and approachable these 2 saint rulers were, Jian Chen gained a very nice first impression of the two. Words of greeting and conversation were made promptly afterward before the 2 saint rulers moved to the crux of the problem. "Jian Chen, the 2 of us already know about the aggressions of the sect of Dragon and Tiger. Our Qinhuang kingdom will certainly not leave matters at this. You can lead the way, and we will meet and deal with that saint ruler." Chapter 513, Invitation of the Saint Ruler. The arrival of 2 saint rulers had instilled a great amount of confidence in Jian Chen. His heart now no longer feared the sect of Dragon and Tiger. After they had arrived, the entire group set off for the sect with the 2 saint rulers leading the way. A day later, Jian Chen and the others from the Qinhuang kingdom reached the sect of Dragon and Tiger once more. Seeing the towering buildings of the sect on the mountain, no one felt any more pressure in their hearts. The pressure that was once exerted on them by the saint ruler was gone without a trace. That was due to the fact that the 2 saint rulers that had come from the Qinhuang kingdom completely dominated over the one from the sect of Dragon and Tiger. "Honored guests from the Qinhuang kingdom, if you are inclined, please come into the sect of Dragon and Tiger to sit." When everyone had gotten close to the mountain gates, a calm elderly voice could be heard from the interior of the sect. This was the voice of the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger. Perhaps it was because he was dealing with 2 saint rulers from the Qinhuang kingdom, but the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger's attitude had completely vanished. Several days ago, Jian Chen and the other heaven saint masters weren't able to pinpoint where the saint ruler's voice was coming from. However, this time, they could clearly hear that it was coming from within the sect now. The voice of the saint ruler had made its way to the ears of many individuals within the sect. In shock, they piled out one after another from the buildings and stared solemnly at the flying group of people off in the distance. When the sect master Chris and the other heaven saint masters heard the saint ruler speak, they grew especially grim. They knew that if the saint ruler called someone honored guests, then that meant they were of equal standings with him. Plus, there were 2 of them, which meant the pressure they felt had multiplied greatly. Qin Yunlong gave a cold smile as he stared deeply at the sect of Dragon and Tiger. "You all stay here. Harry and I will go inside to meet with that saint ruler." After that, Qin Yunlong and Harry both transformed into 2 currents of light and flew to the sect at unbelievable speeds. Their speed was so fast that even the space around their bodies began to slightly distort. In that split moment, the 2 figures of the saint rulers from the Qinhuang kingdom disappeared from Jian Chen's sight. Their speed had been so fast that even Jian Chen had been astonished. Jian Chen and the others stared anxiously at the encampment where the sect was. "How do you think the 2 honored imperial protectors will deal with this situation?" Xiao Tian asked. "That doesn't even need to be said. The sect of Dragon and Tiger may be a major sect on the continent, but they only have a single saint ruler. How could they be a match for our Qinhuang kingdom? The honor of our kingdom cannot be so easily violated. So I can see that if the sect of Dragon and Tiger wishes to get by this peacefully, they have no other choice but to pay a hefty price. One of the imperial advisors spoke. Correct. Now that 2 imperial protectors have personally arrived, the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger wouldn't dare keep the same attitude he had several days back, or else the sect of Dragon and Tiger will be razed down to the ground today. I would look forward to that. The destruction of the sect of Dragon and Tiger isn't very important, but what's truly important is that we would have the good fortune of being able to witness a battle between saint rulers. I have lived for many years, but I have never seen a battle between saint rulers before. Qin Wujian smiled joyously. Hearing this, Qin Wujian agreed as well. Yes, I wish to see that saint ruler remain unyielding. That way, we will be able to see the strength of a saint ruler. The 2 brothers had an expectant gleam in their eyes in eagerness to see the 2 saint rulers from the Qinhuang kingdom fight against the saint ruler from the sect of Dragon and Tiger. Hearing the 2 chatter, Qin Wuming's face grew slightly dark as he growled, "You 2 settle down. Are you 2 even capable of discussing the matters of the imperial protectors?" Qin Wuming was clearly held in high regard by both Qin Wujian and Qin Wujian. With a few words, Qin Wujian and Qin Wujian instantly grew quiet. Although they were all heaven saint masters, the 2 brothers didn't dare go against their own father. Afterward, no one bothered to speak anymore. They watched the empty space above the sect of Dragon and Tiger in silence. Many of them had already predicted a good show, leaving them quite expectant. In this quiet moment, time seemed to have gone by in rapid succession. Unknowingly, a candle wick's worth of time had passed by, but there had been no explosion or sounds of battle to be seen or heard from the interior of the sect. Not even a single iota of battle presence could be felt. It was as if all was quiet in the world. Seeing the period of calmness in the sect, Jian Chen's eyebrows creased together. This was something he felt was different than what he had imagined. Continuing to stand there, 2 hours had quickly gone by before the 2 saint rulers from the Qinhuang kingdom finally came back out. Upon this sight, Jian Chen had a look of disappointment flash briefly across his face before disappearing just as quickly. The 2 saint rulers' way of dealing with this situation had been quite different than what Jian Chen had expected. In his mind, he would never let such a matter like this be let off so easily. He had been heavily injured by the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger after all. If not for the fact that the saint ruler had been afraid of his title of an imperial protector, then Jian Chen might have not been able to leave the sect that day. That was because the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger had deeply coveted the strength of the azure and violet sword spirits Jian Chen had. The 2 saint rulers walked into view of everyone, but their faces were quite unwell, gloomy even. Qin Yunlong especially had a bit of a frosty gleam in his usually deep eyes. The 13 heaven saint masters and Jian Chen tried to discern information from their body language. Seeing how the 2 saint rulers were in such a state, everyone grew quiet for a moment, instantly growing serious. They all realized that the situation had to have some sort of terrifying or unwanted turn of events. "Seniors, what is the result of this matter?" Jian Chen couldn't help but ask. In this group, only he had an identity high enough to speak. If it wasn't him that did, then it wouldn't be suitable. Qin Yunlong spoke, "Jian Chen, your grievances with the sect of Dragon and Tiger concludes here." Hearing this, Jian Chen's face changed abruptly. Muttering, he asked, "Seniors, could it be that the sect of Dragon and Tiger is far too strong to have seniors be afraid?" Qin Yunlong shook his head, "That isn't it. The sect of Dragon and Tiger is nothing to worry about, but there is still a secret to be revealed here. Jian Chen, we 2 will head back to the Qinhuang kingdom straight away and will be taking our leave first. May seniors have a good voyage." Jian Chen cupped his hands. "May the honored imperial protectors have a good voyage." The 13 heaven saint masters bowed in respect. Qin Yunlong stared at the 13 individuals and spoke, "Help Imperial Protector Jian Chen tidy up the rest of the affairs here and then come back when finished." With that, Qin Yunlong and Harry immediately left the area. Their speed was extremely fast, and in that instant, they had already disappeared off into the horizon with haste. Seeing the two saint rulers recede away, Jian Chen and the other 13 felt unwell. From the appearances of the two saint rulers, everyone could tell that something terrifying must have happened and bore relevance to the Qinhuang kingdom. "Let us go back then." Jian Chen called out to everyone and prepared to leave. "Might everyone stay here for a little longer?" Suddenly, a voice called out from behind. Everyone could see the Sectmaster Chris come flying out. He ascended in front of Jian Chen. Seeing the Sectmaster Chris, Jian Chen's face darkened as he spoke coldly, "Sectmaster Chris, what business might you have?" If not for the fact that there was a saint ruler hidden in the sect behind him, then Jian Chen would wish nothing more than to inflict yet more serious damage to Chris. There was a carefree smile on his face as if he had completely forgotten about the matters that had happened a few days ago. Cupping his hands, he spoke, "Imperial Protector, our elder sect master wishes for you to sit within our sect for the time being." Hearing this, Jian Chen started while the other 13 individuals from the Qinhuang kingdom instantly displayed gloomy and cold expressions on their faces. Sensing the hostility from everyone around him, Chris revealed a faint smile, "Everyone needs not worry. Our elder sect master only wishes to chat with the Imperial Protector and increase our goodwill with each other. There will be nothing done to make it unfavorable for the Imperial Protector. After all, our sect doesn't dare become an enemy for your Qinhuang kingdom." The 13 felt the tension ease from their faces, but they looked to Jian Chen one after another. If it had been anyone else that had asked, then they would have said no for Jian Chen, but the request had come from an enemy saint ruler. Jian Chen hesitated. He didn't know just what the saint ruler had done to make the two saint rulers from the Qinhuang kingdom give up their pursuit on this matter, but the words Qin Yunlong had mentioned before comforted Jian Chen. The sect of Dragon and Tiger was nothing to worry about. With that in mind, Jian Chen felt a little relieved. Agreeing to Chris' proposal, he replied, "If I don't go, it would appear that I, Jian Chen, feared your sect of Dragon and Tiger. That's all then. If your elder sect master wishes to talk with me, then I will see just what he wishes to talk with me about." Jian Chen turned back to the 13 Heaven Saint Masters, "Wait here for the moment. I will go in." With that, Jian Chen didn't delay for even a second and flew straight into the interior of the sect. Under Chris' lead, Jian Chen arrived at the mountain in the back of the sect and finally came to a stop right in front of a cavern. "Imperial Protector, the elder sect master is in this place. I'm afraid I cannot accompany you into this cavern." Chris spoke to Jian Chen right outside of the entrance. Jian Chen didn't speak a word and strode into the cavern by himself. Passing through a 100-meter corridor, he finally arrived at an expansive space within the mountain. It was well illuminated, and countless of fist-sized night pearls adorned the ceiling of the cavern to provide the entire place with some light. The cavern was simple in arrangement. In the middle, there was a simple stone table built, and a single layer of dust could be clearly seen on the table. This cavern had clearly not been swept for a very long time. Not only was the table like this, but even the ground was no exception. Whenever Jian Chen took a step, a clear footprint could be seen left behind. Jian Chen swept his eyes around the place only to discover that there was no one here. Just as he was about to become doubtful, a clear sound could be heard from the side where a stone door began to open, allowing a black-robed elder to appear in front of Jian Chen. This elder had a crane-styled haircut and was quite tall and sturdy. His back was built like a bear and his shoulders like a tiger. Just standing there, he was like a tall shield at about 2 meters tall, a height that was about a head taller than Jian Chen. Chapter 514, Negotiation. Seeing this elder, Jian Chen's eyes flashed with a fierce gleam that was not at all hard to see. There was no need to even think to know that this elder was without a doubt the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger. Jian Chen stood there in silence and observed the saint ruler without a word of greeting or movement. There was no goodwill felt for this saint ruler since the memory of him being severely injured by him was still fresh in Jian Chen's mind. The elder paid no mind to Jian Chen's silence and lackluster movements. He just stared at Jian Chen with eyes that seemed unnaturally deep. They almost seemed capable of seeing through the secrets Jian Chen had without fail. With a smile, he spoke, "It is no wonder you are an imperial protector for the Qinhuang kingdom even as a heaven saint master. With a talent that exceeds all others, it is still rare to see someone so young to step into the heaven saint master realm." The saint ruler paused his words when he didn't see Jian Chen reply, but continued to speak again afterward. There is a life or death threshold to cross from an earth saint master to a heaven saint master. This threshold is one of the only times of danger a cultivator experiences in his or her progression. For an earth saint master to make the breakthrough to become a heaven saint master, they need to be able to control the energy of the world as well. This step is something that countless of talented earth saint masters may not be able to accomplish, thus, their road ends there. Only a few destined ones make it past this obstruction and make that next step into the realm of the heaven saint masters. It is more difficult than the previous two obstacles for a heaven saint master to make the breakthrough to become a saint ruler. For to become a saint ruler, one must be able to comprehend the mysteries of the world. These mysteries of the world are far more complex than the energies of the world. Cultivation talent will not make up for the deficit of not understanding. Within the Tianyuan continent, those with unparalleled talent are not many, but there are still enough that have become a heaven saint master under the age of 50. Among those that did, the ones that became a saint ruler can be counted on one's fingers. However, even among them, there are many that fell off the road halfway and were unable to understand the mysteries of the world and remained a heaven saint master. Hearing this, Jian Chen's eyebrows creased together and spoke expressionlessly, "Senior, did you call me here in hopes to give me this tidbit of information?" The saint ruler gave a faint smile, "Don't be in such a hurry. Listen to what I have to say first, Jian Chen. I know that you are the #1 mercenary from the most recent gathering of the mercenaries, and you were able to enter the Holy Lands to cultivate. Although legend has it on the continent that anyone that is able to enter the Holy Lands will later make the breakthrough to become a saint ruler, it is only a possibility. Think about how long Mercenary City has existed on the continent, and how many times a person was able to enter the Holy Lands to cultivate every 50 years. With so many years gone by since its creation, the amount of people that have entered the Holy Lands are plenty, but in the end, how many of them managed to become a saint ruler? The saint ruler looked to Jian Chen and continued to speak, "Jian Chen, I have a scroll here that I found several hundred years ago in a cave that belonged to a saint ruler. This scroll contains the realizations of a heaven saint master that became a saint ruler and was what I relied upon years ago to study and make the breakthrough to become a saint ruler. Although this scroll is not that useful for a saint ruler, it is a treasure among treasures for a heaven saint master, for this scroll is a shortcut to the path of a saint ruler." Hearing this, Jian Chen could already more or less figure out what the saint ruler was planning. His mouth curled into an icy smile. "Senior, do you mean to say that you wish to give this scroll to me in exchange for something from me, correct?" "Correct." The saint ruler gave up beating around the bush and continued with what he had wanted to say straight away, "Jian Chen, this old man can give you this scroll free of charge, but on one condition. This old man wishes to know about the secret of that mysterious power. Where would one be able to obtain this secret, and how would one be able to cultivate its secrets?" Jian Chen didn't hesitate to shake his head with the same cold smile. "My apologies, senior. Please forgive this one for not being able to answer." The saint ruler was not angered. It seemed that he had predicted this outcome and patiently explained, "Jian Chen, consider this deal for a while. Although you may be the strongest of all beneath saint rulers with that energy, you are still a weak little ant in front of a saint ruler. To exchange the mystery that is that energy for a shortcut to become a saint ruler does not negatively impact you. There is no need for considerations. Senior, if there is nothing more that needs to be said, then this one will be taking my leave. Jian Chen cupped his hands and prepared to leave. Jian Chen, if you are still not pleased with this transaction, then I will add on an additional object. The saint ruler was adamant and really wished to know the mystery behind the energy Jian Chen possessed. Jian Chen hesitated slightly, but for the saint ruler to learn of the origin energy of the azure and violet sword spirits, that was not a good thing. Despite his concerns, Jian Chen did not yield. I am afraid to disappoint Senior, but no matter what priceless treasure you offer me, I will not divulge my secrets. Senior, please give up on this. With that, Jian Chen turned around and left. Despite the other person being a saint ruler, he did not fear him at all. After Jian Chen had left, the saint ruler's warm expression instantly froze over. Staring at the disappearing figure of Jian Chen, his eyes revealed a frosty glare. If you refuse my toast, then take the wine instead. With that, the space within the cave seemed to instantly freeze over, and it seemed that time had completely stopped within. After leaving the sect, Jian Chen's heart grew firm. Now that the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger was thinking about the origin energy of the azure and violet sword spirits, this could be a potential threat to Jian Chen. Although he had the support of the Qinhuang kingdom, the sect of Dragon and Tiger wouldn't be too afraid to conduct a covert move against him. Jian Chen regrouped with Xiao Tian and the others. When they saw how serious Jian Chen was, someone immediately asked in concern, Imperial Protector, did the saint ruler not do anything with you? He covets the energy I wield. Jian Chen spoke gravely. Hearing this, the dozen imperial advisors blanched. To have a saint ruler set his eyes on someone was not a good thing. Furthermore, they could all predict what would happen after this was over. Imperial Protector, we may as well head back to the Qinhuang kingdom. In there, the sect of Dragon and Tiger wouldn't dare do anything to you. Tian Luo proposed. For the time being, I cannot. There is still plenty I need to do. Well, we shouldn't talk about this for now. Let's leave first. It's unclear whether or not the things we fear are superfluous or not. Jian Chen spoke. A day later, the group of people arrived back at the imperial palace of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. As soon as they had descended, a single silver-armored soldier came running forward and knelt in front of Jian Chen, a report for the honored Imperial Protector. The treasury has been completely dismantled. All of the materials have been placed within space rings and are ready for transport. Jian Chen took the space ring and inspected the materials inside. Sure enough, there were plenty of piles of tempered steel that formed a mini mountain range. Jian Chen kept the space ring and spoke to every soldier, gather everyone and return to the Jessen Kingdom. The matters within the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had long since been finished, and the business with the sect of Dragon and Tiger had been temporarily finished. There was no point in staying here any longer, so Jian Chen and the group had no desire to stay in the imperial palace either. They immediately left the palace, and returned to the Jessen Kingdom. This time, the entire group split between two paths. Jian Chen and the imperial advisors traveled together through the air toward the Jessen Kingdom while the three generals traveled with the 100 elite soldiers, who were mounted on their magical beasts, toward the Jessen Kingdom on ground. With the speed of flying through the air, Jian Chen and the 10 other individuals had only wasted 2 days' worth of time before arriving back at the Jessen Kingdom. When they descended down into Lore City, they were greeted by the 500,000 Eastern deity soldiers who had returned several days before them. At this moment, all of the soldiers were gathered in a large encampment near Lore City. Jian Chen and the other 10 individuals from the Qinhuang Kingdom entered Lore City and slowly landed in the Changyang Manor. The Changyang Manor had been completed several days ago as well. Its scale was at least double than what it was before, and a giant street now encompassed the outside of it. The ceremony for the manor had not been conducted because the most important figure of the Changyang clan had not returned yet. The family and guards of the Changyang clan had remained within the inns, living there during this time. Before the ceremony started, no one dared enter the manor. This was one of the traditions of the Tianyuan continent they feared to break. As soon as Jian Chen and his group descended down to the ground, another group of people could be seen hurrying toward them. Leading the group was Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian. Chang Wuji and several of the other elders followed them from behind. Seeing the 10 imperial advisors gather around Jian Chen like the stars around the moon, Changyang Ba displayed a look of utmost pride in his eyes. Laughing merrily, he spoke, "Xianger, I didn't think that you would return this quickly. We only returned 2 hours ago ourselves." Seeing his parents, Jian Chen immediately felt happier and smiled in greeting, "Father, Mother. Xianger, the matters with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom have been taken care of now, correct? There was no problems, I hope?" Changyang Ba asked in concern. Everything has been taken care of. Father doesn't need to worry about these matters anymore." Jian Chen gave a comforting smile. He simply didn't dare speak about the matters that had happened with the sect of Dragon and Tiger since he knew that his parents would be even more worried. "That's fine then. Xianger, the manor has been completely rebuilt. Now that you've returned, let us conduct the official ceremony in 3 days. Xianger, was there something you wanted to say?" Changyang Ba spoke. In front of his own son, he seemed to have forgotten about his own position as the head of the clan and completely handed the discussion over to Jian Chen. "Father, as long as you are the host, then it's fine." Jian Chen smiled. "So it'll be then. Now that this matter is over, Chang Wuji, I'll have to trouble you with sending out the invitations. Please invite the officials of the Jessen Kingdom for them to participate in the official ceremony of the Changyang Manor in 3 days' time." Changyang Ba boomed with laughter. Chapter 515, A Visit from Elders Feng and Yun. The situation for the Changyang clan in the Jessen Kingdom was far different than before. The opening ceremony was extremely magnificent, and every single major party within the kingdom had been invited. Even the Huayun sect that had caused trouble for the Changyang clan had been no exception. No one that had received an invitation had declined it. On the very first day after the invitations were sent out, plenty of people had already shown up to Lore City. These people were all the strongest representatives of their respective clans or families, and they were here to pay respect to the honorable Changyang clan. As a side mission, they were trying their best to show the friendliest of intentions to them. This time, the inhabitants of the Jessen Kingdom weren't the only ones that knew about the trek of the Qinhuang Kingdom and Jessen Kingdom to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. All of the surrounding kingdoms had gained knowledge of the information as well. It stirred a giant wave of attention from even the more influential factions. Even the movement of the Eastern deity swords had been investigated before everyone had made a startling conclusion. The reason why the Qinhuang Kingdom was helping the Jessen Kingdom was because of the Changyang clan. Therefore, even people who hadn't been invited to the opening ceremony of the Changyang clan showed up alongside the ones that had with plenty of precious gifts to present to the clan. All sorts of nobles showed up to Lore City, giving every single inn within the city to reach an all-time high of prosperity in the history of their business. Some inns had completely filled up within a single day, forcing several mercenaries to have no choice but to camp in the city outskirts. The guests who had arrived late all had a look of helplessness when they saw the jam-packed inns. In the end, they had to take a leaf from the mercenaries' book and set up a camp in an open clearing with feelings of injustice. The amount of people coming to congratulate them caused the entire Changyang clan to be taken back, but under the careful arrangements of Chang Bai, he was able to expand the entire banquet out onto the surrounding streets. There were now well over 1,000 tables, and every single chef from Lore City had been hired to help. 3 days later, the Changyang clan's banquet finally started, but the ceremonial host was Changyang Ba while Jian Chen himself was hidden from sight. This led many people, that were looking forward to seeing Jian Chen, to feel disappointed. The ceremony for the opening of the manor had been grand, but it did not last for long. After a single day, it was over. On the second day, every single person visiting had left one after another. After the ceremony ended, the people of the Changyang clan finally began to officially move in and recruit some more guards. Although the Changyang clan was well known without anyone in the Jessen kingdom daring to go against them, there was still plenty of work to do. Within the center of the newly constructed Changyang clan, there was a magnificent hall created for Jianchen, which had been proposed by the elders of the clan. This would be a place meant specifically for Jianchen to use, and not only was the exterior magnificent, the interior design and decorations were splendid. At this moment, Jianchen, Yu, Mingdong, Qin Ji, Dugufeng, Yunzheng, and Senioren were all gathered around a round table. At that moment, a guard came running in, a report for the fourth master. There are two guests who go by the names Elder Feng and Elder Yun here to see you. What? Elders Yun and Feng? Jianchen was startled. Those two elders were from the Huang family, but he never would have thought that the two of them would have taken the initiative to look for him. Could they be here for the Saint Ruler's skeleton? Jianchen couldn't help but think with a dark expression. Jianchen. Who are these two elders? Are they friend or foe? Mingdong asked. Jianchen hesitated before saying, acquaintances from the past. If everyone could sit here for now, I will take my leave first. With that, Jianchen immediately left the room to walk to the gates of Changyang Manor where the two elders, Feng and Yun, were waiting. The two of them displayed gentle smiles and gave off the feeling of amiable and friendly people. Seniors, what wind has brought you two here to my home today? This one is truly surprised. Jianchen cupped his hands together with a smile to greet the two. Fourth master, perhaps, are we not welcome to pay a visit here? Elder Feng cupped his hands in return. Using the title Fourth Master instead of Jianchen was a sign of speaking to Jianchen with his proper title. Seniors are definitely welcome, please, come in. Jianchen smiled cordially and led the two elders into the manor. Within one of the more private rooms, the three men sat down before Jianchen spoke straightforwardly, Seniors, I presume you are not here for the Saint Ruler's skeleton. The two elders laughed merrily before Elder Feng replied, the fourth master misunderstands, the two of us are here solely to pay a visit and not for the skeleton. You are after all a benefactor of our Huang family. While the Saint Ruler's skeleton is important, our Huang family will not show ingratitude to a friend. Neither would we do such an act like that and earn animosity with the Qinhuang kingdom. We would not dare infuriate an imperial protector from that kingdom. Hearing this, Jianchen's eyes flashed with a gleam of light. He hadn't thought that the Huang family would be able to find out that he was the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom so fast. When he heard that the Huang family was not here for the Saint Ruler's skeleton, Jianchen let out a sigh in relief. With a brief moment of hesitation, he spoke, if not for the Saint Ruler's skeleton, then what matters might seniors be here for? Fourth Master. We are here because our patriarch wishes to invite you to serve as an honored guest at our Huang family. Elder Feng smiled. You wish for me to be a guest at your Huang family? There are no social ties between your Huang family and I. Jianchen was suspicious. Fourth Master, it is our patriarch that invited you. Whatever reason there might be, the two of us do not know. The fourth master just needs to understand that our Huang family bears no ill will toward you. Elder Feng spoke. Yes, fourth master, our Huang family has no grudge to bear against you. Not only does our patriarch wish to see you, the young miss wishes to see you again as well. Elder Yun sighed, if not for the fact that our young miss is currently busy taking care of several matters at home, I'm afraid she would have sought you out earlier. Hearing Elder Yun mention the young miss, Jian Chen immediately thought of the yellow-robed woman of unmatched beauty as well as the very beginning part of the free-for-all portion of the gathering of the mercenaries. Unconsciously, he asked, "Is it Huang Luan?" "Correct, it is the young miss, Huang Luan." "Fourth Master, our young miss has been missing you quite so for these past few suns. If you come to our Huang family, please come see her as well." Elder Yun sighed with a complicated expression on his face. Jian Chen sat there in deliberation for a brief moment before nodding, "Fine then. I agree to visit your Huang family. What time would you like?" At this, the two elders immediately grew excited. "Fourth Master, if you have nothing important at the moment, then we can go now." "Go now? That quickly?" Jian Chen was stunned. Elder Feng nodded. "There is indeed some panic because the young miss has come across some trouble and wishes to see if you can help her. To be brief, the sooner we go, the better." Hearing Elder Feng speak, Jian Chen had made up his mind. "Fine then, please wait for me as I bid farewell to my family." An hour later, Jian Chen had said goodbye to everyone and followed the two elders away from the Changyang Manor. Along with the three, Xiao Tian, Qing Xiaofan, Chao Kachin, Dongi Junbai, and Tian Luo all came with Jian Chen. Taking the five of them to the Huang family had been Qin Ji's idea. When Qin Ji had heard that Jian Chen was going to the Huang family, he had immediately worried for Jian Chen's safety. He had been adamant that Jian Chen bring 5 imperial advisors with him. In the end, Jian Chen had no other choice but to agree to Qin Ji's request. Taking 5 of the most trusted imperial advisors to serve as a way to show off prestige. It was only 30,000 kilometers from the Jessen kingdom to the Huang family. Jian Chen and the 5 imperial advisors only needed a single day and night to follow the two elders before finally arriving at their home. The Huang family was a family-based power that was located on top of a beautiful and spiritually rich mountain. From the moment Jian Chen and the others descended down, they could see plenty of buildings littering the mountains. As they drew near, 2 Heaven Saint Masters flew up from the compound and stopped right in front of the two elders Yun and Feng. These 2 middle-aged men were tall and sturdy with dowdy faces. Their tiger eyes gleamed brilliantly and hid a tremendous amount of power within them. Jian Chen sized up the 2 men in front of him. From just how much power they exuded, Jian Chen guessed that these 2 men were at the very least 4th cycle Heaven Saint Masters. So it's Elder Feng and Elder Yun. The 2 men cupped their hands toward the elder before their eyes turned to stare at Jian Chen and the 5 imperial advisors. The 2 elders returned the greeting before turning around to Jian Chen. "Fourth Master, these 2 are elders of our Huang family. The 2 of them are brothers named Huang Lan and Huang Feng. This one is Jian Chen. I wish the 2 elders good health." Jian Chen put on a faint smile and cupped his hands together. The other 5 imperial advisors bowed as well with their hands cupped together, but they remained silent. Elder Feng continued to speak, "Elders Huang Lan and Huang Feng, these 5 are the honored guests from the Qinhuang kingdom and are here by invitation from the Patriarch." Chapter 516, Ancestor of the Huang family. Upon hearing that Jian Chen and the others were guests from the Qinhuang kingdom here by invitation from the Patriarch, Huang Lan and Huang Feng immediately grew solemn and began to look at Jian Chen and the others in a new light. The Qinhuang kingdom was several times stronger than someone like the Huang family. "We welcome our guests from the Qinhuang kingdom into our Huang family. Your arrival has truly brought light to our humble Huang family, please, come in." Elder Huang Lan spoke cordially and guided the others in with a smile. "Elders Huang Lan and Huang Feng, please continue with whatever tasks you have. I will be bringing our guests to the Patriarch at once." Elder Feng smiled. Huang Lan and Huang Feng immediately felt some veneration for the Patriarch at the mention of him. In the Huang family, the Patriarch was the one they held in the highest esteem. "Then we won't waste the precious time of our honored guests." Elder Feng, Elder Yun, we'll leave the two of you to receive our guests then. Elder Huang Feng smiled. Ever since they had realized that Jian Chen and the others were from the Qinhuang kingdom, their attitudes had grown extremely amiable. After bidding farewell to the two elders, Elder Feng and Yun led Jian Chen inside the compound and to a gigantic palace at the center of it. Upon arrival, a single middle-aged man walked out from the hall. Elder Feng, Elder Yun, the patriarch is already waiting for you all in the halls. If everyone could please enter. The two elders nodded before guiding Jian Chen and the 5 imperial advisors into the hall. It was extensively spacious in the hall, but it was filled with a tremendous amount of pressure. Despite the simple arrangement inside, Jian Chen could distinctly feel the broad amount of grandeur that disseminated from the entire hall in a different way than the imperial palace of the Qinhuang kingdom. This hall had existed for a very long time. Although it was built with plenty of precious building materials, it was not able to withstand the passage of time. The entire hall had the scars left behind by time, giving it an ancient but desolate feeling. Jian Chen's eyes looked around at the 20 or so chairs placed on both sides of the giant hall. 10 other elders around the age of 70 could be seen seated without a word, their eyes closed. On the throne up front, a single white-robed crane-haired elder could be seen seated on it. There was a faint smile on his face that gave the impression of being warm and gentle, as if he was a benevolent old man. Just as Jian Chen and the group of 7 all entered the hall, the 10 elders opened their eyes at the same time. Their eyes were full of a bright light that seemed to stare curiously at the 6. Patriarch, the honored guests have been brought. This one here is the one invited, while the others behind him are the imperial advisors for the Qinhuang kingdom. At the center of the palace, the elder Feng cupped his hands and spoke to the elder seated at the front. This one is Jian Chen, I pay my respects to Patriarch Huang. Jian Chen smiled as he cupped his hands. The seated elder returned a smile to Jian Chen, for an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom to stay as a guest in my Huang family, it is a great honor. Please, have a seat. The destruction of the heavenly eagle kingdom had been something every single power in the vicinity had paid attention to. Therefore, Jian Chen's identity as an imperial protector for the Qinhuang kingdom had long since been known to them. Jian Chen and the other 5 imperial advisors wasted no more time and sat in vacant chairs. Once everyone was seated, the seated patriarch spoke out loud, allow this humble person to introduce myself. This old man was the patriarch of the Huang family 2 generations ago, but that was well over 60 years ago. Originally I had planned to stay within the back of the mountains to cultivate and ignore the family matters, but a visit from an honored guest from the Qinhuang kingdom is far too important for this old man to not personally oversee. If I was negligent in receiving, please excuse this one for it. Afterward, Jian Chen and the patriarch exchanged several more words before quickly getting to the center of the problem. Imperial Protector, this time I have invited you here to be an honored guest in our household. Aside from a matter with the ancestor, our Huang family still has a small understanding we wish to resolve with the Imperial Protector. The Patriarch spoke. Patriarch, please just call me Jian Chen. It is more pleasing to the ear to me, and for whatever business it is, the Patriarch is free to say it without worry. Jian Chen replied. Then, I will call you Jian Chen from here on out. The Patriarch continued, Jian Chen, I heard of what had transpired in that empty space in the gathering of the mercenaries from the mouth of Huang Wuan directly. Right here, I wish to represent the Huang family as I give our thanks to you for helping safeguard our Lunar Bao. Although a ruler armament is an extremely precious treasure to any family, the bicentennial gathering of the mercenaries was also very important. It meant so much to people that the Huang family, the Shi family, and even the Qinhuang kingdom had spent countless amounts of energy in vying for the #1 spot in the tournament. For whoever was able to become the king of mercenaries would possess the right of being able to cultivate in the Holy Lands for a period of time. This was a very good way of setting the foundation to become a saint ruler in the future. Thus, every single top-notch family would do their best to help whichever outstanding talent they had. As long as they had the possibility of someone in their family becoming number one, it didn't matter how many more times they participated in the gathering of the mercenaries, they would still gain a heaven-tier battle skill to take home. Huang Luan was the most outstanding person to appear within that generation of the Huang family. Not only was she a direct descendant of the main family, she was already an Earth Saint Master at her age. For that reason, the Patriarch had decided on lending her a ruler armament to use in hopes that she could demonstrate her extraordinary talent within the gathering of the mercenaries and hopefully become number one. If she happened to gain the rights to cultivate in the Holy Lands, then with her talent in cultivation, Huang Luan would in the future make the breakthrough to become a saint ruler that would make it worthwhile for her to use the Solunar Bow in the gathering of the mercenaries. However, the Huang family had made a miscalculation in regards to the empty space. They never would have imagined that the Shi family would actually take advantage of the empty space to try and take away the Solunar Bow. The Huang family had nearly lost their ruler armament because of their lack of defenses, but it was fortunately thanks to Jian Chen that the ruler armament had been able to return safely to the Huang family. Jian Chen laughed when he listened to the Patriarch. This one once had a meeting of fate with Miss Huang Luan before, but I owed the young miss a favor for that. That matter with the young miss in the empty space was a chance for this one to make it up to the Miss Huang Luan, so the Patriarch shouldn't weigh too much importance to this. The Patriarch had no idea that Jian Chen had once met Huang Luan before and had taken his words to merely be said out of politeness. Thus, he did not spend any more time worrying about this problem. There is still a second matter. The Patriarch continued to speak, but after that moment, an embarrassed look overcame his face. Apologetically, he spoke to Jian Chen. Jian Chen, I know of the matter that happened days ago. It was nothing more than a misunderstanding on our part. We hope that you will pay it no mind. That elder in question has already been deeply punished. Jian Chen waved his hand without a care. I've long since forgotten about that matter. The Patriarch needn't worry about it. If anything, it was the Qiangan kingdom that gave rise to this problem. Seeing that Jian Chen hadn't cared for the matter with the Saint Ruler's skeleton, the Patriarch could finally rest in peace. This was after all an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom, meaning that he could not be easily offended. Furthermore, even if he was not an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom, Jian Chen was still a benefactor to the Huang family. To forget their favors and violate kindness was something that the Huang family didn't dare commit to. Just as the Patriarch was about to continue speaking, his face suddenly slackened. Just as quickly as it changed, his face calmed down again. Jian Chen, our ancestor wishes to meet with you. Please follow me, I will take you to the secluded part of the mountain where our ancestor is. Elder Feng, Elder Yun, please show the rest of the imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom where they will be resting. Afterward, Xiao Tian and the group followed the two elders while Jian Chen followed the Patriarch to the backside of the mountain. Jian Chen flew behind the Patriarch of the Huang family toward the back of the mountain. Very quickly, they came to a stop at a sword-shaped mountain peak that pierced through the clouds. This mountain was about 5,000 to 6,000 meters high and towered into the clouds above. People's eyes were unable to take in the entire view, and an endless sea of clouds blocked anyone from seeing what was above the clouds. The mountain peak itself wasn't very large at about 100 or so meters tall. However, the top part of the mountain peak seemed as if a sword from the heavens had bisected the peak in two. Thus, the mountain peak was a piece of flat ground without any uneven surfaces. At the top of the mountain peak, there was a single lonely house that was established there. Enduring the howling winds for years on end, this house seemed quite lonely and desolate to Jian Chen. Elder ancestor, the honored guest has been brought. The Patriarch bowed respectfully toward the little house. Jian Chen, enter. An elderly voice called out from within. Jian Chen cupped his hands before entering the house without hesitation. The Patriarch hadn't any plans to stay and turned around to immediately leave the mountain peak. Jian Chen walked straight in through the doors of the wooden house. The house was rather small, and there were no decorations within it. The very moment Jian Chen walked in, he could see a white-robed elder inside. The elder had his white hair coiled around his head with a wooden hairpin stuck through it. Seeming quite experienced, his 2 legs were crossed over a jade stone while his hands were at his abdomen. There was a faint smile on his face, giving him the distinct spirit of an immortal. Chapter 517, Plight of the Huang Family. This one is Jian Chen, I pay my respects to Senior. Jian Chen bowed down to his waist with the utmost respect. This was a saint ruler standing in front of him after all. The eyes to the ancestor of the Huang family were sparkling bright like the moon. As if capable of staring into the center of Jian Chen's heart, his eyes studied Jian Chen with a faint smile and a nod of his head. Welcoming the gaze of the patriarch, Jian Chen suddenly felt as if his entire body was being analyzed and understood by him. In front of the patriarch, Jian Chen may as well have been without clothes or any other object, as nothing was a secret to the patriarch's eyes. The light in the patriarch's eyes quickly receded back into an ordinary one. Spearing forward with conversation, the patriarch praised Jian Chen, you deserve to be called a man of character and astronomical talent. Not only were you able to break through to the Heaven Saint Master realm at your age, you are also not too prideful, not too impatient, and steady as a mountain. To be able to accomplish so much in so little time is very difficult. It is no wonder the Qinhuang kingdom was so easily willing and confident to let such a youngster take up the mantle of an imperial protector. Not only did they see your talent, they saw your personal character and conduct. The ancestors' words caused Jian Chen to be astonished. Even with the high importance Jian Chen had placed on the strength of a saint ruler, he did not expect to have his entire strength be seen through with just his eyes. That strength was too terrifying. Subsequently, Jian Chen felt worried and unsure if the saint ruler would be able to see through the secret that he had no saint weapon and the existence of the azure and violet sword spirits. When he looked at the ancestor's expression, Jian Chen relaxed a bit. That was because the ancestor clearly did not look as though he had seen through everything from Jian Chen. Otherwise, if he knew that Jian Chen had such an unbelievable amount of strength without a saint weapon, then even a saint ruler wouldn't help but feel shocked and would be unable to maintain a calm face like the one he had now. Because the destruction of a saint weapon meant either death or becoming a cripple for a person. This was considered to be an uncontroversial fact, but Jian Chen was a deviation from this. This one feels quite accomplished with the amount of praise from Senior. I am not as outstanding as Senior says, in comparison, this one is nothing and not worth so much praise. Jian Chen cupped his hands together. Although there was a smile on his face, he was neither servile nor overbearing. Hearing this, the ancestor laughed and stroked the beard under his chin with a gentle hand. This old man was only able to get to where I am today after spending 1,300 years worth of time. If I think back to when this old man was your age, I was still dithering around the boundary to become an Earth Saint Master, but I was still not quite there. Compared to you, it is this old man's achievements that are not worth mentioning. If you cultivate for as long as this old man, then you will definitely reach past this old man. At the very least, you will become an entity a layer higher than a saint ruler. Jian Chen had no look of arrogance on his face. Having the memories of 2 lives, he had experienced many things that had honed him. With the great waves and tremendous winds, Jian Chen had lingered between the realms of yin and yang. Compared to the children born and raised within the greenhouse-like family to mature, Jian Chen was completely different. He had long since been mentally fortified by his experiences. Senior likes to joke, I see. The events in the future cannot be so easily dictated by anyone. Although I have several achievements now, the path for the future is still to be taken slowly. One cannot say for certain that this one will reach the world Senior lives in, or if this one will die on the way there. Jian Chen spoke calmly. Hearing this, the ancestor nodded his head in approval. Your words have merit to them. There are many people on the Tianyuan continent, and there are just as many outstanding geniuses. Even among these talents, only a few of them actually become successful. Plenty of them lose their lives on the way or in the cradle of success. The ancestor suddenly stopped speaking to glance impassively at Jian Chen, but there was a faint smile on his face. Well then, let us dispense all of the pleasantries. Jian Chen, do you know why I called you here today? Forgive this one for his ignorance. Please, if the ancestor could enlighten me. Jian Chen spoke. The ancestor stood up. This house is actually quite too small for this. Let us walk outside to speak. With that, the ancestor walked out from his wooden house. Jian Chen walked out from the house only to realize that a transparent barrier had somehow been erected in the surrounding area around the mountain peak. The entire mountain peak was enclosed inside so that the howling winds would have no effect on the people inside. Not too far away, the earth element had begun to gather and form a stone table in front of them. The ancestor could be seen already seated on a stone stool. Come, sit. The ancestor gestured to Jian Chen. Jian Chen didn't hesitate to sit down at the table. The ancestor took out 2 wine cups and a jade bottle from his space ring before pouring a cup for Jian Chen. This old man has erected a barrier over this area. Not only will our conversation be unhearable from the outside, this entire interior will be invisible as well. Jian Chen knew that the ancestor of the Huang family would begin to talk about a serious point and grew extremely solemn himself. But before he could even open his mouth to speak, the ancestor had already beaten him to the punch. Jian Chen, this old man invited you here today to primarily talk about a matter of business with the Qinhuang kingdom. Since you are an imperial protector for them, your status is even higher than that of the king. You represent the Qinhuang kingdom. He spoke. Pondering, Jian Chen asked, what sort of business might Senior be talking about? The ancestor did not reply right away. He instead took a sip of his wine. After a small while, he finally continued, Jian Chen, this old man does not enjoy beating around the bush, so I'll speak honestly. Our Huang family wishes to ally ourselves with the Qinhuang kingdom. If the Qinhuang kingdom is able to help us survive something, then our Huang family will never be able to thank the Qinhuang kingdom enough. Senior, would it be possible to tell us just what circumstances the Huang family is in? Is it related to the Shi family? Jian Chen asked. The ancestor shook his head. If it was the Shi family, then our Huang family wouldn't be forced back in such a manner. This time it is because of the Hongfu clan. Hongfu clan? Senior, could this Hongfu clan be even stronger than the Shi family? Jian Chen spoke with a newfound interest. The ancestor nodded his head, correct. To be specific, the Hongfu clan is several times stronger than the Shi family. That is because in their clan, they have 2 saint rulers and 2 ruler armaments. What? 2 saint rulers? Jian Chen was dumbfounded. On the Tianyuan continent, a clan that had 1 saint ruler was already considered one of the best clans, but the Hongfu clan had actually 2 saint rulers. Their strength wasn't too far off from the sect of Dragon and Tiger. Seeing the shocked look on Jian Chen's face, the ancestor of the Huang family gave a reassuring smile. Jian Chen, you needn't worry. While the Hongfu clan has 2 saint rulers, their strengths lie upon the 2nd and 3rd layer. Even if they both wielded ruler armaments, this old man could handle the both of them alone. Jian Chen was shocked once again. He looked at the ancestor with a newfound light in his eyes. If he could go against 2 saint rulers wielding ruler armaments by himself, then just what level of strength had this ancestor reached? The 4th layer? He had to at least be at the 4th layer. The ancestor continued to speak. The grievances between our Huang family and the Hongfu clan have long since reached a point of no return. They had started several thousand years ago, and up to even now, our Huang family and their Hongfu clan have been at equivalent strengths almost. Even now, our two families would suffer tremendous losses if we were to fight now. Thus, there has never been any conflicts between our two sides, but in private, there have been countless clashes that occur on a frequent basis. Even this old man has fought several times with the two saint ruler, but it has never been so serious yet. A few years ago, the Hongfu clan and another family began to get close. In addition to having the Yan family draw close to them by use of marriage, they begun to treat our Huang family even more threateningly. Just faintly, they have already started to bring us closer to a battle to the death through an ever-increasing amount of pressure. This was the reason why the offspring of my Huang family had entered the empty space without a barrier during the gathering of the mercenaries. This old man did not use any energy, so I could conserve as much energy as I could in the case that the Hongfu clan and Yan family made a surprise attack. What this old man didn't think of was the fact that while my Huang family was minding their own business, the Shi family would suddenly attack our Huang family. They tried to steal away the ruler armament in our possession, and although this old man has no way to forcibly recall the ruler armament, it would cost some of my vital energy to reclaim it. Without a ruler armament, if the Hongfu clan and Yan family unleashed a surprise attack, even I would not be able to stop their alliance. From this, I can only imagine that if the Shi family did not get roped in by the Hongfu clan, then they had at least reached a secret agreement with each other. The ancestor's face looked helpless. With a sigh, he spoke, "The combination of the Hongfu clan and Yan family is already a considerable amount of pressure to my Huang family. With the added Shi family, my Huang family would have no power to defend ourselves if they all attack together. Thus, my Huang family is desperately looking for an outside power to assist us." Hearing this, Jianchen felt a headache occur. The Huang family was certainly facing an unhappy situation. The Hongfu clan had two saint rulers that the ancestor of the Huang family was still able to fend off with difficulty. With the Yan and Shi family participating, there would be another two saint rulers added to the mix as enemies. With the ancestor by himself, he was clearly no match for the four. Jianchen was extremely clear on the motive for the ancestor wishing for an alliance with the Qinhuang kingdom. There was nothing else but his desire to borrow the power of the Qinhuang kingdom to stabilize his Huang family. Jianchen hesitated for a moment. "Senior, this is quite the important matter. Please forgive this one for not being the one to give a response." Jianchen really didn't dare give a response to something like this. If he did, then it would be very possible that the Qinhuang kingdom would earn another two strong enemies. Although the Qinhuang kingdom had four saint rulers, two enemy saint rulers was still quite a foe to the kingdom. Furthermore, there had been a sour taste left in Jianchen's mouth after the events with the sect of Dragon and Tiger. To him, the two saint rulers of the Qinhuang kingdom had personally come to fight with the saint ruler from the sect of Dragon and Tiger. Even if the saint ruler from the sect of Dragon and Tiger didn't fight, he would have to pay a very hefty price, but the final conclusion had been completely outside of Jianchen's expectations. Not only did no fight occur, the two saint rulers from the Qinhuang kingdom had unexpectedly left with such serious expressions. This had made Jianchen uneasy and slightly concerned in his heart. Although he didn't know what the elder sect master had said to the two saint rulers, it surely had to do with the Qinhuang kingdom if it had stopped the two of them dead in their tracks. Thus, at this crucial moment, Jianchen wasn't willing to make the Qinhuang kingdom a lightning rod for additional troubles. Chapter 518, The True Strength of a Saint Ruler, with Jianchen declining to represent the Qinhuang kingdom in a decision to ally with the Huang family, the ancestor of the Huang family side. He had not felt this was an unexpected decision, he even predicted that Jianchen would decline. Prior to this, he had been clinging on to that sliver of hope, but now, Jianchen had essentially extinguished the final piece of hope in the ancestor's heart. "Senior, I am truly apologetic. This matter involves far too many players for me to make a decision." Jianchen spoke apologetically. From the ancestor's face, Jian Chen could see that the ancestor's shoulders were heavily weighed down by the pressure about his Huang family. This old man can understand your troubles. The Qin Huang kingdom is one of the 8 great powers, but they cannot belittle any single saint ruler level expert like so. Even more so, they cannot offend 4 saint rulers at the same time. If it were me that stood in your shoes, I wouldn't agree either. The ancestor sighed. Jian Chen hesitated for a moment. Senior, although I cannot involve the Qin Huang kingdom in this myself, if there is ever something I can do, then I will do my best to help the Huang family. Jian Chen had been honest and wasn't lying for the sake of face, so the ancestor felt moved. Smiling, he said, Jian Chen, this old man understands your intent. A fight between saint rulers is something a heaven saint master cannot interfere with. Even with your excellent talent as one of the strongest on the continent, you wouldn't be an exception to this. If you work hard and cultivate, in the future you will definitely exceed this old man. Thus, you should do your best to increase your strength. When you become a saint ruler, we will see if my Huang family will still need your help or not. Still hesitating, Jian Chen replied, Senior, this one knows that an individual at the saint ruler realm is extremely strong. Back at the sect of Dragon and Tiger, I was educated on the very tip of the iceberg of a saint ruler's strength, but the clear level of it is still quite fuzzy to me. This one wonders if Senior would be able to allow me to experience a saint ruler's strength. This one would like to try his best to see just how big of a gap there is between me and a saint ruler and if I can defend myself from one. The reason why Jian Chen had said these words was simply to increase his knowledge on the strength of a saint ruler. The saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger had already expressed his interest in the origin energy of the Azure and Violet sword spirits. The saint ruler was afraid of Jian Chen's identity as an imperial protector of the Qin Huang kingdom, but this did not mean he was not afraid to act in secret against Jian Chen. As long as he could clearly understand the exact strength of a saint ruler, then Jian Chen would be able to find a plan to deal with a saint ruler should one attack him in the future. Jian Chen, the difference between a saint ruler and a heaven saint master is even further than you can imagine. A saint ruler has already understood the mysteries of the world to the point where each movement they take embodies the energy of the world. As the proverbs say, all are ants beneath a saint ruler. In front of a saint ruler, a heaven saint master is indeed as weak as an ant. If you truly wish to see a saint ruler's strength, then this old man will let you satisfy your curiosity. The ancestor spoke. At the last word, a barrier suddenly appeared and imprisoned Jian Chen within it. Jian Chen, this is the barrier that only a saint ruler can create. Containing the laws of the world, it is connected with the world itself intrinsically. One can say the interior of this barrier is an entirely different space. Although a barrier is unbearably weak toward another saint ruler, even a heaven saint master is unable to break through this. Aside from the power of the barrier being depleted, a heaven saint master has no chance of shattering it. The ancestor spoke. The ancestor's words had clearly entered Jian Chen's ears, but even after hearing them, Jian Chen had remained unconvinced and immediately brought out the origin energy of the sword spirits. A rich amount of an azure and violet glow could be seen gathering and condensing into the form of a sword before Jian Chen chopped down at the barrier. It's no use. This old man's barrier is something that a heaven saint master cannot shatter apart by himself unless the barrier runs out of power. This barrier is the energy of another domain, one that a heaven saint master cannot even think of touching. The ancestor smiled faintly, completely sure that Jian Chen would not be able to split apart the barrier he had personally put down. At that moment, the origin energy made contact with the barrier. With a pop sound, the barrier was popped by Jian Chen's sword as if it had been a giant balloon filled with air. After the sword had pricked through it, the barrier completely disappeared from sight. The expression of the ancestor immediately went rigid. Staring blankly at where the barrier had dissipated, a look of disbelief crossed his face. Impossible, you actually broke the barrier I put down. The ancestor spoke with a rather crestfallen and shocked voice. He quickly recovered himself, however. Staring curiously at the origin energy in Jian Chen's hand, he exclaimed, "What a powerful energy!" Seeing the expression on the ancestor's face, Jian Chen couldn't help but have a small smile on his face. Cupping his hands, he spoke, "Senior, please advise me." Standing up from his stone stool, the ancestor's eyes began to sparkle with a bright light. Firmly, he spoke to Jian Chen, "Jian Chen, a barrier is just one of the many tools of a saint ruler, but it is not a part of a saint ruler's attacking strength. Right now I will show you the difference between a saint ruler and heaven saint master. You may attack as you please." Separating himself from the stone table, Jian Chen's right hand began to sparkle with an even brighter light of azure and violet from the origin energy. As if two serpents or yin-yang fish, they coiled around his arm, but they never touched one another. Concentrating heavily on the saint ruler in front of him, Jian Chen had no intention to hold back. All of the origin energy within his body had been brought out to its maximum amount. His right hand began to shake violently as the amount of power coursing through his arm had transformed it into a blur of mirror images that shot toward the ancestor with blinding speed. With only a flash of azure and violet, the origin energy reached 3 inches to the saint ruler's chest before stopping. The origin energy found itself unable to advance another fraction of an inch forward. Jian Chen blanched in surprise. His feet slid forward in an attempt to use his entire strength to push the origin energy forward, but he was powerless despite his attempts. The origin energy was simply unable to go even a small inch forward. Jian Chen's eyes flashed as he decided to take back his sword. With a flickering of his body, he circled around the ancestor's body to attack from the back, but the results had been the same. The origin energy stopped moving 3 inches away from the ancestor's body. It was unable to progress anymore. Just what in the world is this? Jian Chen was extremely curious. This was the very first time he had seen the methods of a saint ruler, but even now, Jian Chen was unable to understand it. Jian Chen, you now understand just how large of a difference there is between a heaven saint master and a saint ruler. Even if a saint ruler remains motionless, there is nothing a heaven saint master can do to injure them. The ancestor chuckled. Senior, would it be possible to tell me how you managed to do this? Although he was unable to harm the ancestor at all, Jian Chen was not discouraged and even asked a question with some curiosity. The ancestor turned around to teach and explain to Jian Chen with a smile, that is the mystery of space. Mystery of space? Jian Chen murmured to himself in a low voice. His eyebrows furrowed together in deep thought. The ancestor continued to explain, a heaven saint master can control the energy of the world in ways that can enable them to fly through the air. A saint ruler has comprehended the mysteries of the world can initially use the energy of space. I was using this spatial energy just then. In the eyes of others, you are only 3 inches away from hitting me, but what you may not know is that in the eyes of an observer of these 3 inches, they are actually comprised of several kilometers. Depending on the level of comprehension on space by a saint ruler, this distance can be infinitesimally extended. Unless you can transverse this space or perhaps break through this space, there is no way you can harm an entity of a saint ruler. Space, so this is the energy of space. Jian Chen made a realization. His understanding of a saint ruler had increased even more now. Space was a gap that was still too far for him to cross just yet. You understand the distance between a heaven saint master and a saint ruler now, I take it? The ancestor spoke in a teacherly manner toward Jian Chen. I understand now. The mysteries of the world are indeed massive if they can control even space itself. With that, how wouldn't a saint ruler be able to fly at a tremendous speed? Jian Chen's face had grown serious as he spoke. Correct. The ancestor replied, a saint ruler who has just comprehended the mystery of space is indeed fast. For an individual with a deeper understanding of it, a single step of theirs can transverse several thousand kilometers. In today's time, there are only a handful of men who are capable of this. Jian Chen's eyebrows knit together tightly. He thought about that saint ruler from the sect of Dragon and Tiger. If the speed of a saint ruler was that fast, then it would be fruitless to even attempt to run away from one. Although Jian Chen wasn't sure if the saint ruler from the sect of Dragon and Tiger would attack him, he couldn't lower his guard, he had to remain wary. Afterward, Jian Chen and the ancestor began to chat before Jian Chen finally left the mountain peak to go back to the villa by himself. "Fourth Master, you've returned so quickly." As soon as Jian Chen descended down into the villa, the two elders Feng and Yun flew up to receive him as if they were all good friends. Jian Chen smiled. "This one and the ancestor have already finished our talks, and now it is time for me to return to the Jessen kingdom. Many thanks to the two seniors and the Huang family for having me." Hearing this, the two elders gave each other a look. Concern could be seen as wrinkles across their foreheads. Elder Feng spoke, "Fourth Master, why leave so quickly? Come stay a while." "There is no other choice, I have a group of friends waiting for me back home. I cannot just so blatantly leave them all on the side. There is still some matters I need to take care of with them." "Fourth Master, it is seldom that you come by the Huang family, why not first see the young miss?" Elder Feng spoke. Jian Chen hesitated as the memories of his days with Huang Luan suddenly appeared in his mind. He hadn't seen her in a long time, so there was willingness to see her again. "Fine then. It is indeed rare to come by here, I'll go see Miss Huang Luan then." Chapter 519, The Feelings of Huang. Afterward, Elders Feng and Yun led Jian Chen down to the villas of the Huang family without any obstructions. There were many people who recognized the two elders on the way and bowed in respect to them. Clearly, the two of them held quite high positions in the Huang family. The villas of the Huang family were quite large. The three of them walked side by side with a smile on their faces as well. This sight caused everyone who saw the youth to be quite curious, and they began to guess at Jian Chen's identity. After walking with the two elders through a villa, the three of them finally reached their destination where a two-story pavilion could be seen. "Fourth Master, this is the chamber of our young miss. She has stipulated that should the fourth master arrive, walking in directly would be fine." Elder Feng gave a meaningful stare and smile while Elder Yun stood on the other side with a similar expression. Jian Chen stared at the pavilion in front of him without paying attention to the expressions on both elders' faces. After a slight moment of hesitation, he finally stepped toward the door. Pushing it open, Jian Chen then walked into the building. The first floor of the pavilion was a very expansive lounge. Despite it being spotlessly clean, it was vacant and devoid of any single person, but at the end of the lounge was a wooden staircase that led to the second floor. Hesitating again, Jian Chen slowly stepped toward the staircase and up to the second floor. Upon his arrival, a sweet-smelling scent wafted into his nose. Breathing in, he suddenly felt like he was intoxicated and had his mind stripped away from him. This was a scent that would make you indulge yourself without restraint. Jian Chen took in a deep breath of the fragrant air, and after taking it in, he couldn't help but sigh, what an enchanting scent. Jian Chen had not spoken out loud, but in this quiet pavilion, it may as well be a clap of thunder that no one would be able to ignore. Jian Chen studied his environment only to find that this room had been decorated with comfort in mind. The interior wasn't grand in appearance, but there were several things that a woman would own and plenty of beautiful decorations in the room. It was enough for anyone that had come here for the first time to be able to make an accurate guess that the owner of this room was a female. In the center of the room, there was a neat and tidy bed. This bed was quite small and was only capable of holding one person on it to sleep on. On the yellow bed was a yellow blanket that had been folded several times with all sorts of marks left behind. It was clear to see that this bed had not been touched for some time. To the side of the bed was a single window. At this moment, there was a woman whose back quietly faced Jian Chen as she stared out the window. As if spellbound, this woman stared at the scenery outside the window. She wore a black dress with her black hair drooped down. This combination of clothes and appearance had harmonized with each other perfectly, inducing a feeling of grace. Although her face could not be seen, her beautiful stature was more than enough for anyone to guess that the face of the owner would be beautiful as well. Jian Chen's eyes fixed themselves onto the back of this woman. Although he wasn't able to see her face, the figure was quite familiar to him, and his mind had already seemed to have made a verdict on who this woman was. It was Huang Luan, who he hadn't seen in a very long time. Staring quietly at Huang Luan's back, Jian Chen's lips couldn't help but curl into a smile. That was because he had suddenly thought about the first time he and Huang Luan had met. "Miss Huang Luan, it has been a long time since we last saw each other. Compared to then, you have more grace now it seems." Jian Chen spoke with a smile still on his face. Hearing this, Huang Luan's black dress-wearing figure began to tremble. Her teeth began to nibble at her lower lip in hesitation before seemingly coming to a conclusion. Finally, she turned around slowly. She looked to Jian Chen's handsome face with a complex look of happiness. It had been more than half a year since they had last met, and Huang Luan's beauty had indeed grown since then. Her beauty now was still capable of befalling a kingdom and left no room for argument. Even the fish and the birds would be captivated by her, and the moon would hide itself behind the clouds in shame. Huang Luan's limpid autumn eyes stared at Jian Chen as if lost in thought. Her mouth slowly opened as she asked, "Should I be calling you Jian Chen or Changyang Xiangtian?" Smiling confidently, Jian Chen replied, "Just call me Jian Chen. I rather like that name. The name, Changyang Xiangtian, is something only my family uses. Besides my family, I am Jian Chen." Huang Luan took several light steps toward Jian Chen at her leisure. At an extremely close range, her eyes were still full of complexity. Even now, in her mind, Huang Luan was unable to even think back to when she and Jian Chen had first met or when they had met again in the empty space during the gathering of the mercenaries. This was the very first time Jian Chen had ever seen Huang Luan have such a look in her eyes. Sensing that something was off, he gave an awkward smile. "Miss Huang Luan, are you all right?" As soon as Jian Chen had finished speaking, Huang Luan had abruptly spread open her arms to hug Jian Chen. Her entire body stuck close to him. Her slender but exceptionally powerful arms had already pulled Jian Chen close to her. This sudden development had startled Jian Chen so much that he became mute with shock. For a half moment, Jian Chen hadn't responded to her. As far as he knew, even though he and Huang Luan had gone through a period of trouble together, the relationship between the two had never reached such a close and intimate level like this. When Jian Chen had finally recollected himself, he could feel the lovely but tightly clenched arms of Huang Luan still wrapped around his body. His thoughts had instantly descended into chaos. With Huang Luan suddenly hugging him like this, the mentally unprepared Jian Chen was at a loss for what to do or what would happen next. "Miss Huang Luan, this," Jian Chen swallowed. Even though he wanted to say something, he suddenly found himself unable to say anything. It was the two soft but firm sensations he felt pressed against his chest that made Jian Chen's heart beat with an unprecedented level of violetness. "Jian Chen, I wanted to hug you, so let me hug you for a while, okay?" Huang Luan's voice could be heard right next to his ears. Like the soft hum of a mosquito, her sweet-sounding voice gently blew by Jian Chen's ear, allowing him to feel his ear go both numb and ticklish. Jian Chen sucked in a deep breath in an attempt to forcibly calm down. Gathering his thoughts, he finally managed to ask, "Miss Huang Luan. What is the meaning of this?" This time, there was no response from Huang Luan, who instead chose to continue hugging Jian Chen tightly. Her entire body seemed as if it was stuck to him, her head was next to Jian Chen's shoulder, and both of her eyes were closed shut. Her entire state of mind had descended into a wondrous sensation she had never experienced before. Quietly enjoying this sensation of the mind and soul, her mind was filled with joy. Right now, in her mind, Huang Luan was replaying the scene from when she had first met Jian Chen. She remembered, that time the two of them had once shared. "You scoundrel, to think that you would peek at me taking a bath, I will definitely kill you." "Hold on, miss. This was just a misunderstanding, I had no intentions of peeking on the miss taking a bath." She remembered, that time in the empty space during the gathering of the mercenaries. "Bastard, if you're a man, don't even think about running away. I don't wish to stand around to be your live shooting target, I'm not that foolish." She remembered, that time when they fought against Xiaofan. "Scoundrel. If you help me deal with them, I'll write off our differences." She remembered, that time when Jian Chen had been crushed by Xiaofan's seal of Treasure Mountain. "You scoundrel, how could you be this stupid? I told you to run, but you stood there like an idiot. An idiot's death. That's what you deserve." She remembered, that time when they were about to go on their own separate ways. "Did you not want to know my name? You never told me, how would I know it? Did it not occur to you to ask?" Even now, she could clearly remember these memories. Her own heart felt as if she had lost something when she had first parted from Jian Chen. At the same time, she had felt happy when Jian Chen had been with her. At that time, Huang Luan remembered how she had first felt about this person. Truly, she hated him to the bone. She wanted nothing more than to scalp his skin, tear his muscles, drink his blood, and eat his flesh. At that time, her body had been seen by this man, a man that was both very weak and a stranger. Huang Luan had been left with a very deep impression of Jian Chen for that reason. It was only when she returned to the villa that she had brooded over her feelings and tried to forget that it had ever happened. However, the feelings she had for Jian Chen had only made her feel even more hurt. Later, when she participated in the gathering of the mercenaries, she had came across Jian Chen once again in the empty space by chance. Although Jian Chen's sudden explosion of strength had startled her, she still felt some animosity for him. This animosity had permeated her entire body down to her bones. It hadn't been alleviated since her first meeting with him, that was why the two of them had started to fight. However, when Xiaofan had attacked her, she had fallen into a predicament. At that moment, she had no other choice but to cry for help to Jian Chen for the sake of protecting her ruler armament. Though she didn't believe that Jian Chen would help her from her problem, an escape was hopeless for her since there had been many experts aligned with Xiaofan. With no other option to choose from, she could only resign herself to feeding the dead horse some medicine. However, despite the injuries Jian Chen had, his fighting strength had been overwhelming and far beyond her expectations. Not only did he defend himself, he was able to kill the Earth Saint Masters with Xiaofan and reduce the pressure on her. Then, they had even managed to escape from that predicament with the two of them uniting to defend themselves from Xiaofan. After these series of events, Huang Luan's perspective of Jian Chen had begun to change bit by bit. The two of them had no other choice but to stay with one another until the tournament had ended after they scraped together their strength to fight Xiaofan. In this period of contact with Jian Chen, Huang Luan's understanding of him had grown deeper and deeper. Whether it was his influence, his appearance, or even his moral character, she was not too picky to find fault in any of them. He was even strong as well. His good attributes slowly had Huang Luan changing her mind about Jian Chen, and she gradually threw away the hatred she felt for him. Especially since that first awkward meeting was really just a coincidence. Jian Chen possessed a handsome charm that could sway any woman under the heavens. Combined with confident and free nature of his super talent, the amount of power he was endowed with, that made him brave, and his intelligence in the face of any enemy strike, all of these superior qualities of his gave him an unbelievable allure. He could even be said to be the shining white knight of any woman on the continent. When she had thrown away the prejudice she felt toward Jian Chen, she discovered all of his strong points when they were traveling together. Unbeknownst to her, Jian Chen had left a deep imprint in her mind. It was during that time that Huang Luan had felt something murky in her mind. From then to the time where she had split with Jian Chen after the gathering of the mercenaries, this murky sensation had gradually grown clear in her mind. When she had returned to the villa, this particular feeling had grown extremely fierce. In the end, this line of thought had seized control of her thinking, had begun to replay memories of when she was with Jian Chen frequently. This feeling hadn't been lost even after she had split ways with Jian Chen. Instead, it had been like a poison that spread through her body. It reached deeper and became even more serious to the point where she could no longer free herself from her thoughts. Chapter 520. Determination. Huang Luan held Jian Chen tightly in a quiet but comforting embrace. No words had been voiced, but the feelings and thoughts that had welled up inside her had finally exploded out. Just like a volcano erupting after a period of buildup, the resulting momentum was both fierce and hard to control. Jian Chen was dumbstruck. His entire body had gone rigid without moving for a long period of time. Even with memories from two worlds, he never remembered being hugged by a female before, so this was the very first time he had experienced the warmth of one. This was not a woman with a beauty that could bring the downfall of a city, but a woman with a beauty that could bring an entire kingdom to its knees. Time in this dubiously quiet place slowly passed by. A beautiful moment was fleeting, this one was no exception. Huang Luan and Jian Chen had remained together for an unknown amount of time before Huang Luan finally loosened her grip on Jian Chen. Slowly standing up, Huang Luan looked up at Jian Chen with her bashful eyes. Then, tilting her head down, she slowly began to smooth out the wrinkles in her messy robes. Both of her cheeks had gone red in the prominent display of a shy girl. This appearance of hers caused Jian Chen to be dumbfounded. From the very beginning of when he came to know Huang Luan, she had given Jian Chen the feeling of being icy cold and habitually silent. There was never a time where she had revealed such a shy expression. Is this the same Huang Luan I first came to know? Jian Chen couldn't help but question himself. In his mind, the Huang Luan he knew and the one in front of him were two completely different people. Jian Chen sucked in a deep breath and was hit with the sweet-smelling fragrance coming from Huang Luan's body once more. His entire mind had been intoxicated by it. This scent combined with her throwing her arms around him was as good as a bewitching medicine concocted against a man. If it were not for Jian Chen being a heaven saint master with impressive willpower and an impressive mind, it would be very likely that he would have lost all self-control. Slowly bringing himself back to a calm, Jian Chen stared at Huang Luan with a complex stare. Hesitantly, he opened his mouth to ask, "Miss Huang Luan, are you all right?" Huang Luan shook her head slightly and slowly brought her head up to look at Jian Chen. After a brief period of time, the expression on her face finally returned to normal. Although there was still the remains of a blush on her cheeks, it enhanced her charm. Seeing the handsome and stalwart face of Jian Chen, Huang Luan's eyes gradually reverted back to a blur. A face like his was like receiving an increased dosage of yang qi after half a year of not having any. Jian Chen felt goosebumps arise on his skin from Huang Luan's stare. Unconsciously, he retreated several steps as if he was afraid of this look. Jian Chen wasn't a naive 3-year-old, he knew just what that stare meant in Huang Luan's eyes. This stare left him with an extreme amount of trouble in his heart. He was already shouldering plenty of worries. Although it seemed that Jian Chen was a person with a far future, he was still just a heaven saint master in strength while also being an imperial protector for the Qinhuang kingdom. Jian Chen was fully aware of how much pressure the future had in store for him, so today, he wanted to spend all of his efforts on improving his own strength. There was simply no time to even think about settling down. Jian Chen. From our departure in Mercenary City to now half a year later, have you thought about me? Huang Luan whispered to Jian Chen with a soft voice. Right now in terms of emotions, Huang Luan was far more honest than before. She was no longer the secretive, daredevil, and heroine figure from before. Compared to Yu, they were as different as black and white in personality. Jian Chen hadn't thought that Huang Luan would actually ask a question like this. In his period of distraction, Huang Luan's temperament suddenly flared up in a way that Jian Chen felt contrasted quite heavily with her usual icy expression. Jian Chen quickly recovered, and still slightly stupefied, he answered, "I have." Hearing this, Huang Luan's face broke into a happy smile. Unknown to her, Jian Chen's thoughts of her had been completely different than how she had thought of him. When Jian Chen had said that he had thought of her, he had only thought of the occasional times where he thought of the past, but there was no longing in them. Yet, this smile of Huang Luan did not last long. Her face quickly grew dark, a concentrated amount of sadness and worry mixed into it. Seeing this expression of hers, Jian Chen disregarded the abnormality of Huang Luan's previous actions. Jian Chen's heart dropped. He could already tell that Huang Luan had perhaps come across some sort of trouble. "Miss Huang Luan, are you fine?" Jian Chen asked again. When Huang Luan had first hugged Jian Chen, he had a strange feeling in his heart. Now this worried expression of Huang Luan had brought him to an indescribable level of anxiety. Right now, Jian Chen himself wasn't sure if this anxiety was because of Huang Luan or not. Huang Luan's reluctant eyes lingered on Jian Chen's handsome face and the chest she had buried herself against. With a soft sigh, she slowly turned back to the windows so she could stare out of it with a look of despair. During the split second Huang Luan had turned around, Jian Chen had caught a glimpse of a teardrop beginning to fall from Huang Luan's eyes. Jian Chen's heart had immediately grown heavy for some reason. He didn't know why, but the sight of Huang Luan caused his own heart to hurt. Just faintly, he could sense that something terrible had happened to Huang Luan. After a long while, Huang Luan finally opened her mouth. "Jian Chen. Did you know, my father has already betrothed me to the second young master of the Huanggu clan." Huang Luan's voice was weak and without strength. Pain was easy to detect in her voice, and just a slight sob could be heard as well. Jian Chen was startled to hear this. Although not a single woman had ever crashed their way into Jian Chen's mind before, Jian Chen's heart couldn't help but grow heavy when he heard Huang Luan speak. Perhaps it was because of Huang Luan's current state, but Jian Chen's heart had begun to bubble with a strange sensation. He certainly did not wish for a beautiful woman to be betrothed to a man she did not love. Restraining the emotions in his mind, Jian Chen asked, "Huanggu clan? Could this be another strong clan that can rival your Huang family in strength?" "The Huanggu clan is incomparably strong in comparison to my Huang family. The Huanggu clan is a family that has stayed in isolation similar to my Huang family, the Shi family, the Jie clan, and the Dugu family. Families that have stayed in isolation like ours have several thousand years worth of history like a saint ruler appearing from the family. They also have unbelievable strength." Huang Luan explained. "Isolated families? Does that mean every saint ruler has come from a clan or family that hid itself away?" Jian Chen asked curiously. "That's not it. A family in isolation and a family that isn't are different. To be called an isolated family is to be in an isolated state and to not have contact with the outside world. Only by doing that can a family be said to be isolated. Our Huang family, for example, has been stationed deep within the mountains for many years without many of our disciples exploring the outside world. That has led to only a small amount of people knowing who we are. The other isolated families are like this as well. I heard about what happened with the saint ruler's skeleton from Uncle Feng and Uncle Yun. If it weren't for the fact that the Qiangan kingdom had found and leaked the news of a saint ruler's skeleton to us, our Huang family would never have stepped foot out into the outside world unless it was something important. On the outside, there is still many other strong powers that overwhelm those isolated families like mine. For example, the 8 great powers and the 3 great empires. There are also the ancient clans whose strength outstrips the isolated families and are a part of everyday life where they are located. Among the isolated families, there are only an extremely small few that can even compare in strength to the 8 great powers or the ancient families. As for the 3 great empires, we are still an era behind. Only the mysterious ancient families would be able to contend with them. Jian Chen felt like he was another step closer to understanding the strength of an isolated family after Huang Luan explained it to him. However, he hadn't thought that above these isolated families would be the even more gigantic ancient clans. How strong are these ancient clans? Jian Chen asked curiously. You cannot even imagine. Huang Luan spoke. I've only read about the ancient clans in the ancient records of my Huang family. I've never heard anyone talk about them before though, so I only know that these ancient families have existed for tens of thousands of years and more. Although they've existed on the continent, no one knows where. The records had it written that unless something major happens on the Tianyuan continent, these ancient clans won't appear at all. That is because they truly are clans that lives in isolation. I had no idea that the waters of the Tianyuan continent would be that deep. Jian Chen spoke. His perspective of the Tianyuan continent had changed quite a bit. Along with the progression of his strength, his domain of understanding had increased as well. In the beginning, he had only been at Wake City to hunt for monster cores to cultivate. A lowly third-rate city where great saint masters were considered far and few and earth saint masters to be the apex of experts with the power to call the wind and summon the rain. As for heaven saint masters, whether it was the Blue Wind Kingdom or the Jessen Kingdom, they were highly respected almost like gods. Heaven saint masters represented a kingdom's strongest source of power, and in a war, an individual like a heaven saint master was the same as several million elite soldiers. Now that he had came into contact with a major family like the Huang family, Jian Chen felt as if he had stepped into a whole new domain where the pinnacle of power was no longer a heaven saint master. There was an even higher level, the saint rulers who comprehended the mysteries of the world. A heaven saint master was nothing more than a median of strength. Jian Chen tilted his head down to think, Miss Huang Luan, I've heard of the predicament your Huang family faces from your ancestor. Your betrothment to the Huanggu clan is surely because the Huang family wishes to tie the Huanggu family behind your family banner. Your guess is correct. Although it seems quite calm and quiet on the surface of our family, the core disciples are all aware of how bad the predicament is for our family. If we do not find any outside help, I'm afraid the remaining days for our Huang family will be numbered. The hatred between the Huang and the Hongfu clan has gone on for generations now, there is no other way to resolve this bitter hatred now. From our 2 families, one of us has to die. With the power of the Hongfu clan, they can control our Huang family now. It is only by uniting with the Huanggu family that we stand a chance against them. They will think twice about attack, and I will be offered to the Huanggu family as the only present. Huang Luan spoke. Jian Chen had nothing to say after Huang Luan spoke. He just stood there in hesitation for a long time, his eyes sparkled with a light that seemed like some sort of internal conflict. After a while, Jian Chen bit his lower lip and finally thought of an idea. If I am able to find some help for your Huang family, would that be enough for your betrothment to the Huanggu family to be annulled? Huang Luan's body shook violently for a moment before slowly turning to meet Jian Chen. Looking at the earnest face of Jian Chen, Huang Luan's own face did not have a happy smile on it, instead, there was a helpless and mourning expression. Jian Chen, I know that you are the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom, presumably you have not been one for long either. That means your position within the kingdom is still unstable as well. This betrothment was the proposal of my father and has the support of the ancestor. The 2 of us alone are unable to do anything, so it is best you not get involved. Otherwise, there will be even more trouble for the Qinhuang kingdom and the other men of power within the kingdom will no longer agree to let you do as you please. Huang Luan's face had grown helpless beyond helpless. Both eyes looked to Jian Chen with a shallow smile. Actually, to be able to hug you at this moment and leave behind my fragrance on you is more than enough for me. Chapter 521, 5,000-year-old Saint Ruler Jian Chen's eyes gained a determined light to them. Huang Luan, don't worry. I, Jian Chen, will exhaust my entire efforts to help you. You won't be betrothed to a man you do not love. Jian Chen's words were firm and decisive. There was resolution in his voice and a strong conviction in himself. When Huang Luan heard him, her heart immediately felt nice and warm as it pulsated with emotions. In the end, she couldn't help but hug Jian Chen tightly once again. Her entire body began to shake from her spasmodic sobbing. In the silent moment of crying, tears could be seen flowing down her face. Jian Chen, I feel satisfied enough with those words. As I thought, I've always been in your heart, haven't I? Huang Luan spoke through her sobs with a gentle voice filled with emotions. Jian Chen said nothing and instead chose to hug Huang Luan tightly. This was a problem he found difficult to answer and simply had no time to even ponder it. Continuing, Huang Luan spoke, Jian Chen, this union between the Huang family and the Huanggu family cannot be changed. You shouldn't waste your time with this, it's useless. The Qinhuang kingdom won't be in favor for you to interfere either. Huang Luan's voice was filled with sorrow. From the touching appearance of the two, it seemed as if they were a happily married couple on the verge of being broken apart while they tried their best to find a way to resist. Gently taking Huang Luan's arm off of himself, Jian Chen replied, the situation has not yet reached a situation where it cannot be saved. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you away from this abyss of suffering. I will go speak with your ancestor. With that said, Jian Chen wasted no time and turned around to leave Huang Luan's place of residence. She made no move to stop him either and only stared blankly at the retreating back of Jian Chen. A soft look was in her eyes as tears slowly stole away from her eyelids and trailed down her beautiful face, a face that could bring a kingdom to its knees. Jian Chen did not stay long at Huang Luan's pavilion. Not even an hour later, he walked out from the pavilion, but the elders Feng and Yun were nowhere to be seen. A white-robed, middle-aged man had been walking toward Huang Luan's pavilion from far away. When he saw Jian Chen walking out from it, he called out from a long distance away, "You must be the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom." The man spoke with a friendly smile and cordial tone. Jian Chen looked at the middle-aged man. He looked to be an Earth Saint Master in strength, but his imposing presence that brought forth dignity from it overwhelmed the area with his hegemonial air. Although the man was only an Earth Saint Master in strength, Jian Chen could think of no reason to feel any contempt for him and cupped his hands in greeting instead. This one is Jian Chen. Receiving a polite response from an imperial protector like Jian Chen to an Earth Saint Master like him, the middle-aged man showed an approving light in his eyes. The smile on his face grew even warmer as he cupped his hands back in salute. This one is the family head of the Huang family, Huang Qinglan. Huang is my daughter, which brings the topic to mind. It seems Huang and the imperial protector have quite the history. Upon hearing that this middle-aged man was actually Huang Luan's father, Jian Chen revealed a surprised look in his eyes. Though, he quickly recovered and smiled, "So you are the head of the Huang family, it is nice to meet you." Imperial Protector, the previous representative for the Huang family was my grandfather. When he went into isolation behind the mountains, he was unable to greet you. If we have slighted you, then please forgive us. Allow me to bring you to the Jade Cloud Pavilion. We've already prepared a feast for the Imperial Protector. The other 5 honored guests from the Qinhuang kingdom are already there. We are just waiting for the Imperial Protector. Huang Qinglan smiled. Jian Chen hesitated for a moment before shaking his head. "Lord Huang, this one truly apologizes, but this one has an important matter to discuss with the senior at the top of the mountain peak. For that, I cannot accompany the Lord, please forgive me." Upon hearing mention of the senior on top of the mountain, Huang Qinglan thought to the ancestor and immediately grew apologetic and venerable. "If it is so, then I won't delay the Imperial Protector's time any longer. Goodbye then." Jian Chen spoke before flying into the air to travel to the mountain. Seeing Jian Chen disappear into the sky, Huang Qinglan displayed a look of undisguised admiration and envy in his eyes. Muttering to himself, he said, "Who would have known that in so few years, Jian Chen would reach the realm of a heaven saint master? Truly a sight that makes any yearn in envy." After speaking his laments, Huang Qinglan continued on his path toward the small pavilion, but when he passed by the spot where Jian Chen had stood, his body came to a halting stop. Sniffing the leftover fragrance in the air, Huang Qinglan suddenly let out a drawn-out sigh. "This is the scent of essence of orchid. I did not think that Huang'er would actually be willing to use it for Jian Chen." Huang Qinglan displayed a look of helplessness on his face. The essence of orchid was a type of fragrance that wasn't very well known to the common populace of the Tianyuan continent, but the majority of the females knew about it. In the eyes of the females, the essence of orchid was a symbol of pure love, the sacred flower for depicting love. A woman could only use this essence once in her entire life. Using this on the man the woman loved represented that she wholeheartedly fell for him and her feelings would never change. When any single woman used this essence on a man, it illustrated the fact that the woman was prepared to give everything she owned to that man, including her chastity. That was because the essence of orchid was a natural medicine that would confound the senses and evoke the most primal desires of man. Huang Qinglan never thought she would be willing to use the essence of orchid on him in the short amount of time they knew each other. This was truly out of his expectations. There was nothing else Huang Qinglan could do but sigh and continue to sigh. Jian Chen was truly a superior candidate. He was such a superior candidate that Huang Qinglan wouldn't even be able to find a fault with him even if he tried. Jian Chen was nearly perfect, but the future of the Huang family was in imminent peril. Therefore Huang Wuan had no choice but to be the expendable victim, betrothed to the Huanggu family without any power to choose who she would love. Huang Qinglan walked into the small pavilion and up to the second floor. The entire room was filled with that essence of orchid, leaving him no choice but to shake his head helplessly. Then, looking to the tear-stained face of his daughter, his heart began to feel unwell. "Huang'er," Huang Qinglan opened his mouth. He wanted to speak some words of comfort to his daughter, but when he opened his mouth to speak, he realized that there were no words he could say to comfort her. Using a yellow handkerchief to wipe at her tears, Huang Wuan turned her back to face Huang Qinglan. "Father, your daughter wishes to be by herself." Seeing the icy demeanor of his daughter, Huang Qinglan sighed to himself. "Huang'er, your father knows your heart holds only Jian Chen. You are right, Jian Chen is a superior man in every way to the second master of the Huanggu family except in background. If it were any other time, your father would be happy to have you wed to him, but in this time of peril for the Huang family, you know just as well as I do. This choice we chose was never one we were able to select from." His daughter said nothing, and the father no longer wished to remain in this orchid-smelling room any longer. "Huang'er, your father doesn't wish to bother you. Do calm yourself well and properly." Jian Chen came back to the mountain peak where the ancestor of the Huang family was. Bowing and cupping his hands in front of the wooden house, he spoke, "Senior, this junior has something I wish to discuss for a while. Come in." The ancestor called out calmly from within. Jian Chen strode into the narrow and simple house. The scholarly old man remained seated on his stone seat with a smile on his face. "Jian Chen, what might you wish to discuss with this old man? Perhaps you've changed your mind and are willing to lend the power of the Qinhuang kingdom to my Huang family?" The ancestor spoke calmly. "It seems Senior is fond of jokes. This matter is far too important of a decision. This junior cannot represent the Qinhuang kingdom in such a matter, and even if this junior agreed, the other imperial protectors would not agree." Jian Chen replied. "Then what is it you're here for?" the ancestor asked. "Senior, this junior may not be able to persuade the Qinhuang kingdom help the Huang family, but if I am able to find another individual to help, I hope that the betrothment of Huang Wuan to the Huanggu family can be annulled. Jian Chen stared seriously at the ancestor. He knew that the man in front of him held unbelievable power and might, but as long as he could convince him, there was a chance for the problem of Huang Wuan to be resolved. The ancestor's eyebrows rose up in hesitation. Jian Chen, the betrothment between the Huang and the Huanggu has already been set in stone. The girl Huang Wuan has a talent that is seen within my Huang family once every 100 years. She was able to become an Earth Saint Master at the prime age of 20. This is a talent that the Huanggu family favors highly. In the past, they've thought of every possible way to arrange for a marriage, so now that one is set in place, the Huanggu family is very happy. Wishing to annul this betrothment is easier said than done. Even if we were to do so, the friendship between the two families would be broken. Jian Chen's face shifted slightly. With some urging, he said, "Senior, then what do you propose needs to be done to absolve this betrothment?" Seeing the anxious look on Jian Chen's face, the ancestor suddenly broke into a smile. "Jian Chen, could it be that you've come to favor Huang Wuan? Do you wish to wed to her instead? If an imperial protector from the Qinhuang kingdom wishes to connect to our Huang family by marriage, this old man would be very happy to do so." Jian Chen forced out a smile. "Senior, you are still joking around with Junior. This is far too major of an issue. The Qinhuang kingdom will not interfere still." The ancestor revealed a look of disappointment on his face. "Ai. Jian Chen, this old man will be honest with you. My Huang family and the Huanggu family have a history of several hundred years of friendship with each other. If this marriage were to be unilaterally absolved, it will destroy the connection between both our families. Although you are capable of finding help for my family, I will not act in such a manner still. Unless you are able of finding help capable of rivaling the Qinhuang kingdom in strength, then I will not be willing to put my family at such risk." Jian Chen hesitated. "Senior, this junior knows not how strong that man is, but he is presumably not far away from the Huanggu family. What layer has this saint ruler reached?" The ancestor's eyes began to gleam in noticeable interest at this topic. "This junior knows not," Jian Chen replied innocently. Hearing this, the ancestor looked disappointed once again. Before he could say anything, Jian Chen's next words caused his facial expression to freeze. "This junior does know that senior has lived for 5,000 years as a saint ruler." "What? He has been a saint ruler for 5,000 years. The ancestor could no longer hold his calm and came flying up to his feet with a crash of the seat underneath him and a look of shock on his face. "Correct. 5,000 years ago, he became a saint ruler," Jian Chen repeated. This abnormal reaction from the ancestor caused Jian Chen to feel hopeful once again. The ancestor stared hard at Jian Chen, his voice quivering as he spoke. Is he still alive?" "He is alive and well," Jian Chen replied. Chapter 522, Advent of Uncle Tian. The ancestor's face suddenly began to flow with emotions, and the elderly face of the ancestor grew bright red because of this excitement. It was truly hard to imagine that such a high and mighty saint ruler would suddenly lose control of his emotions like so. "Jian Chen, if you can truly bring this senior to help our Huang family, no matter what request it is that you have, my Huang family will do its best to satisfy you." The ancestor clasped onto Jian Chen's shoulders with both hands and spoke in an exuberant voice. "Senior, rest assured. This time, Jian Chen will do whatever it takes to invite that man over. When the time comes, I hope that you will rescind the betrothment of Huang Wuan." Jian Chen spoke earnestly. No worries at all. As long as that senior helps my Huang family, then the Huanggu family wouldn't even dare let a fart out after we cancel the betrothment," the ancestor replied. At that moment, he felt no more hesitation and had no more qualms about offending the Huanggu family. A short moment later, the ancestor seemed to have thought of something, and immediately had a rather artificial look on his face. However, Jian Chen, you must first let me see this senior for me to agree. As long as I can get this senior to personally agree to help, only then will I consider this to be a done deal. Very well, I will first return to invite this senior. After leaving the mountain peak of the ancestor, Jian Chen returned to the Huang family's villa where Huang Luan was and walked to the second story of the pavilion. There was still the lingering scent of orchid in the room, and upon entrance, Jian Chen felt rather intoxicated by the smell. Jian Chen didn't know that this was the smell of orchid to begin with, and neither did he know what the importance behind this essence was. Hearing the sound of footsteps behind her, Huang Luan seemed to have realized that it was Jian Chen from her spot next to the window and whirled around to look expectantly at him. A trail of tears could still be seen on her face in a rather pitiful sight. "You're back, did you think of a way?" Huang Luan asked expectantly. Despite her being so unwilling to have Jian Chen use the Qinhuang kingdom to help her family at the cost of several power holders being unsatisfied with him, she still maintained a glimmer of hope and some expectations. "I've already convinced your grandfather who has agreed with me as well. If I can find someone even stronger than the Huanggu family, he will rescind your betrothment to the Huanggu family," Jian Chen explained. Jian Chen's words made Huang Luan feel more worried for him rather than herself. Pacing to Jian Chen, she spoke in concern, "Will the Qinhuang kingdom support you in this? If they participate in this matter, they will offend a few saint rulers, even the Huanggu family would be an injured party." Jian Chen laughed, "I'm not that foolish. Don't worry. This matter won't be something the Qinhuang kingdom will participate in. Even I don't wish for the troubles of the Qinhuang kingdom to be increased. However, whether I can invite this senior or not, I am still not completely sure myself. In short, I will try my best. I came here so I can say goodbye for now. To finish this problem, I must hurry on back. Then you have to take care of yourself." Huang Luan's heart trembled with affection. At this current moment, she was truly moved by Jian Chen. With a nod of his head, Jian Chen turned around to leave without another word. Afterward, Jian Chen looked for the 5 imperial advisors currently participating in a banquet with the rest of the Huang family. Dragging them away from the dining table, they all bade farewell to the head of the Huang family and hurriedly left. Sniffing the scent of the essence fragrance on Jian Chen, Xiaofan gave a deep look to Jian Chen with a mischievous smile. "Honored imperial protector, why is there such a fragrance to you? Were you perhaps doing something bad in the Huang family for you to leave in such a worry?" Jian Chen had been worrying about several serious matters and had completely disregarded everyone's teasing. With a calm voice, he responded, "There is some matters we need to hurry back to, that is why we left in such a hurry." Seeing the grim look on his face, Xiao Tian and the others lost their teasing mood and grew somber. Speaking for everyone, Xiao Tian asked, "Honored imperial protector, what in the world has happened that made you hurry like this? It's not quite a short story, but it's also not quite a long story. In short, it is a rather important personal matter to me." Jian Chen spoke vaguely. Xiao Tian and the others realized that Jian Chen was not going to explain to them, so they didn't bother to continue asking. Instead, they focused on traveling. The 6 of them traversed thousands of meters through the sky at a tremendously fast flight speed. Beneath their feet was the endless sea of clouds, and even the sky in front of them was so vast that it could not be seen in completion. One would only be able to see the setting sun falling down beneath the horizon. 2 days later, the group returned to the Jessen kingdom. Jian Chen took a quick bath in a nearby river to wash away the remaining smell on him before putting on a new pair of white clothes to return to the Changyang clan. This lowly officer pays his respect to the 4th master. Within the Changyang clan, there was practically no one who didn't know Jian Chen. Whether it was a guard or servant, they all bowed respectfully in salute to Jian Chen as he traveled into the manor. After his return to the Changyang clan, Jian Chen didn't even stop to see his parents and headed straight to Ming Dong's place of rest. Xiao Tian and the others finished their mission and scattered instead of continuing to follow Jian Chen. Jian Chen, when did you return? Jian Chen's sudden arrival surprised Ming Dong. There was a happy smile on his face for a moment, but when he saw the solemn and grim look on Jian Chen's face, Ming Dong couldn't help but feel the smile on his face disappear slowly. Jian Chen, did the Huang family make trouble for you? In Ming Dong's mind, Jian Chen was a friend that had experienced life and death with him, therefore, he felt extremely close to him. He was his most trustworthy friend and would not permit any single person to wrong Jian Chen. Jian Chen shook his head gently and sat down at the table. Personally pouring a cup of tea to drink, he spoke seriously, Ming Dong, there is something I require your help with. Ming Dong sat in the seat across from Jian Chen and looked at Jian Chen with upraised eyebrows and a rather dissatisfied look. Jian Chen, are you or are you not my sworn brother? Using such a manner to speak with me, just say whatever you need to say with me. Don't go beating around the bush like we are strangers. As long as it is your problem, whether it requires me to scale a mountain of blades or dive into a sea of fire, I, Ming Dong, will not shirk my duties. Jian Chen gave an apologetic smile and immediately cut to the chase. Ming Dong, I wish to have your Uncle Tian come forth and help settle a matter impartially. Hearing that Jian Chen actually needed his Uncle Tian, Ming Dong immediately sensed that the matter was serious and grew solemn in accordance to the situation. Afterward, Jian Chen gave him a detailed explanation about the matters with Huang Luan and her family to Ming Dong without any detail left out. After hearing all of this, Ming Dong's grim expression faded away and he instead stared at Jian Chen with a meaningful look. Smiling mischievously, he said, just what was I thinking? So it was this type of matter. Jian Chen, for the sake of making such a fuss for a woman you have met only several times in the past, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to someone else's wife-to-be. Jian Chen gave a hollow laugh, it isn't as complicated as you think it is. No matter what is said, Huang Luan and I had traveled together for a short duration in Mercenary City. I do not wish to see her wed to a person she does not love. Jian Chen. You don't need to be so embarrassed. Polygamy on the Tianyuan continent has been a common occurrence for a very long time. Even your own father has married 4 wives. With your strength and appearance, if you didn't find several girls, then it would be a huge disservice to that rather envious face of yours. Ming Dong teased. Changing the subject, Jian Chen spoke, Ming Dong, would it be possible for your Uncle Tian to come out? Aside from him, there is no one else that I feel can accomplish this. Jian Chen knew a decent amount of saint rulers in his personal network. Aside from the 4 imperial protectors of the Qinhuang kingdom, there was still the elder Xiao from Longevity Valley and Ming Dong's Uncle Tian. The 4 imperial protectors were symbols for the Qinhuang kingdom and couldn't simply act as they pleased. Elder Xiao had already hidden himself away for many years, although Jian Chen knew that he was at the very least a saint ruler. After such a hermit lifestyle, Jian Chen did not wish to be the one to break that way of life for the elder. He did not wish to add to the burdens of Elder Xiao and had decided not to ask him. Furthermore, Elder Xiao's true strength had not been ascertained by Jian Chen, so Jian Chen did not know whether or not the elder would be able to be of much help. All that was left was Uncle Tian. The time when the saint ruler recognized Ming Dong, Jian Chen had been quite shocked. To have even heaven saint masters as servants, Uncle Tian had lived by himself in a floating shrine as its master. This type of setting was something that neither the saint rulers of the sect of Dragon and Tiger or the Qinhuang kingdom possessed. More importantly, Ming Dong's Uncle Tian had become a saint ruler 5,000 years ago. Now 5,000 years later, just what terrifying level of strength would he reach now? Whatever the case, with Uncle Tian's efforts, there would be no way that he would make no headway in 50 years. Moreover, Uncle Tian was seemingly a person of Mercenary City. Although a mercenary was a rather free occupation, Jian Chen had learned something after he visited Mercenary City. Although the Tian Yuan continent had such a free occupation like being a mercenary, Mercenary City was still a very large organization of mercenaries. Even the elders within it were saint rulers of large amounts and had other idle saint rulers as close friends. With these thoughts, Jian Chen figured that Mercenary City was an extremely strong power. It was, after all, the place that had been created by the continent's #1 individual, Mo Tianyun. Jian Chen, I've said before. As long as it is your problem, then I, Ming Dong, will scale a mountain of blades and dive into a sea of flames without hesitation. Ming Dong took out a jade piece. My uncle Tian gave this to me. He instructed me to just put some saint force into this to notify him should I ever come across a problem I cannot resolve. Clenching tightly onto the jade piece, Ming Dong began to circulate his saint force into the piece and allowed it to be sucked in. After the saint force was absorbed, the originally dull jade piece began to light out brilliantly. Ming Dong, where is your uncle Tian now? Jian Chen asked out of curiosity. Probably in Mercenary City. Ever since you entered the Holy Lands, Uncle Tian and I went to my parents and took them to Mercenary City. However, I didn't return with him and remained in the Jessen Kingdom. After I accomplished the mission you gave me, I stayed here. Ming Dong spoke. Jian Chen pointed at the jade piece Ming Dong and asked, Mercenary City is extremely far away from here, will that method really work? Ming Dong gave a proud smile, don't worry, Jian Chen. You don't know how amazing my uncle Tian is. I have full confidence that he won't trick me. As soon as Ming Dong finished speaking, the space in front of them immediately began to surge and swirl. Then, as soon as the two men realized what was happening, a rip in space had suddenly appeared. In an instant, a doorway had been formed from the space, and from the other side of the doorway was a rather gigantic palace hall. Right in front of Jian Chen's stunned eyes, a white-robed, middle-aged man came walking forth from the doorway. This man had an ordinary facial appearance, but the way the space seemed to unaffect him while he floated above the ground gave him a supernatural sensation. Uncle Tian. Upon seeing this man, Ming Dong called out affectionately as if greeting a family member. Chapter 523, Revisiting the Huang family. Seeing the middle-aged man in front of him, Jian Chen was in a daze. Uncle Tian's method of arrival was far too odd for Jian Chen to understand. It was practically millions of kilometers away from Mercenary City to here. Merely a breath after Ming Dong had used that jade piece of his, Ming Dong's Uncle Tian had traversed that distance in no time at all. Even more shocking to Jian Chen was that Uncle Tian seemed to break apart the fabric of space as well. Furthermore, he appeared precisely within this not as spacious room. Such a precise position like this was almost unbelievable to him. That was because a space gate simply couldn't be set up this quickly. The space gate behind the man slowly disappeared from sight, allowing the space it had opened up from to return back to normal. No one there would be able to see that a fissure had even opened up in the sky to begin with. There was not a sliver of energy to be felt from this man. From the appearance of his face, he was nothing more than the average commoner. Nothing strange could be said about him except for the fact that he was floating in midair like some sort of supernatural figure. Uncle Tian, I didn't think that you'd come so fast. This jade piece you gave me is really useful. Ming Dong spoke in excitement. Toward this middle-aged man, his voice held an undisguised level of emotion. In Ming Dong's mind, Uncle Tian held a tremendous amount of power and was even more important than his own parents. The reason why he achieved the success he had today was all due to Uncle Tian's kindness. It was Uncle Tian that had transformed him from an ordinary mercenary into what he was now. Not only did he grow from a great Saint Master to a 6th cycle Earth Saint Master, he was one of the many people on the Yian Yuan continent that held a highly coveted heaven-tier battle skill. Uncle Tian slowly descended to the ground and smiled kindly at Ming Dong as if he was looking fondly at his very own grandson. Brimming with care and doting, he smiled, "Child, what have you come to your uncle for? Uncle Tian, my sworn brother Jian Chen has something he requires your assistance with. Ming Dong spoke. Uncle Tian continued to have that kind smile on his face as he turned toward Jian Chen. Suddenly, the light in his eyes concentrated heavily onto Jian Chen before turning resplendent. With a startled sound of surprise, the Saint Ruler's expression grew astonished. Shortly afterward, two bright golden rays of light shot out from his eyes and seemed to bathe Jian Chen within their golden color. Jian Chen wanted to say something, but he found himself unexpectedly unable to do anything. It seemed that the golden ray of light caused his entire body to become immobilized. He no longer had control of it. This sudden development made Jian Chen feel extremely shocked, but he calmed himself down in a flash since he knew that Ming Dong's Uncle Tian wouldn't do anything unfavorable to him without a reason. The Saint Ruler's actions caused Ming Dong to turn pale with fright before crying out to him in anxiety, "Uncle Tian, just what are you doing?" Before Ming Dong could finish his sentence, Uncle Tian held up his hand to stop him. With a calm voice, he said, "Do not worry, I only wish to look at the current condition of his body, I am not hurting him." With that, Ming Dong let out a sigh of relief. He thought that Uncle Tian was about to hurt Jian Chen. Very quickly, the golden ray surrounding Jian Chen's body disappeared. The golden light in the Saint Ruler's eyes had also returned back to its normal color. As soon as the light disappeared, Jian Chen felt his body control come back to him. Although he was not hurt in any way, Jian Chen was practically sweating bullets. He did not know just how strong Uncle Tian was, but this course of action by him had frightened Jian Chen. If a single observation with his eyes was enough for Jian Chen to lose control of his body, that meant Uncle Tian's strength was truly too terrifying to behold. Uncle Tian's eyebrows narrowed together as his brightly lit eyes stared at Jian Chen. With a low voice, he wondered, "Your saint weapon was actually shattered?" Jian Chen's heart leaped up his throat once again. The secret that his saint weapon was shattered was something that neither the saint rulers of the Qinhuang kingdom or the Huang family had been able to discover. This Uncle Tian had unexpectedly been able to do so with a single glance, finding out Jian Chen's greatest secret just like that. How could he not feel surprised at that? In truth, Jian Chen began to exaggerate and think that in front of Uncle Tian, there was not a single secret he could hide from him. Jian Chen grew extremely courteous and cupped his hands together. Junior Jian Chen pays his respects to Senior. Senior is correct, this junior saint weapon was destroyed. Curious, what a miracle. Despite your saint weapon gone, your strength and mind power seem even stronger than before. Even my eyes cannot see just what fortuitous event caused this to happen. Uncle Tian replied. The saint ruler's words shocked Jian Chen again. He had no idea that even his mind power would be able to be determined at a glance. Though, he felt a little reassured since the saint ruler's voice did not indicate that he had learned about the azure and violet sword spirits. It is as Senior says, this junior came across a happenstance that allowed me to preserve my strength even after my saint weapon was shattered. Jian Chen replied respectfully. Uncle Tian nodded his head with his eyes still staring brightly at Jian Chen. Then, with a slightly more thoughtful expression, he spoke, "With the intensity of your power of thought, you're already capable of controlling the energy of the world. I didn't expect that since we last met half a year ago, you would reach such a level. This rate of progression is simply too unbelievable." Uncle Tian paused to sit down at the nearby table. "Tell me why you need my assistance so much." Jian Chen replied respectfully, "Senior, this junior has a matter that I wish Senior will oversee impartially." With that, Jian Chen began to recount the tale of the Huang family to him. Hearing the entire story from start to finish, Uncle Tian sat there without a word and with furrowed eyebrows. At this, Ming Dong felt quite anxious. Worried that his Uncle Tian would refuse Jian Chen, Ming Dong pleaded, "Uncle Tian, Jian Chen is my sworn brother. If it wasn't for Jian Chen saving me in the past, I wouldn't be able to survive until today, let alone see you, Uncle Tian. Now that my sworn brother is in trouble, you must help my sworn brother." Almost as if he was moved by Ming Dong's words, the Saint Ruler sighed. "I had originally planned on not getting involved, but I suppose I should help just this once if Jian Chen saved your life before." Jian Chen was unable to contain his joy at those words and clasped his hands together. "Many thanks to Senior for his assistance." "No thanks is necessary. Jian Chen, you are quite talented in skill. In fact, you are several times stronger than Ming Dong. I hope that when I am not around, you will look after Ming Dong in my stead." He sighed as a helpless light flashed in his eyes. "Senior, this Junior and Ming Dong are sworn brothers. Even without Senior saying so, this Junior would do so." Jian Chen spoke honestly. Ming Dong felt rather displeased at Uncle Tian's words and grumbled, "Uncle Tian, you take me to be a young child still." Uncle Tian smiled, "There's no time to lose then. The sooner we go, the sooner we can resolve this matter." "Jian Chen, which direction is the Huang family located in?" "About several 10,000 kilometers in the northwestern mountains." Jian Chen spoke with excitement. With the Saint Ruler Tian making his advent, the ancestor of the Huang family would have no qualms either. Growing silent for a moment, the Saint Ruler then responded, "I've found the location, let us go then." "Yes, Senior." Jian Chen immediately walked toward the exit. After his feet had taken several steps forward, his entire body suddenly came to a stop as he stared at Uncle Tian in amazement. He had only watched Uncle Tian's right hand slowly lift up before settling down on the empty space in front of his chest. The next moment, the space near him began to violently tremble, and in another brief moment, a pitch-black crack appeared right in front of Jian Chen's eyes. The crack expanded rapidly before instantaneously becoming a space gate. The entrance to the other side was a very familiar sight to Jian Chen. It was the house where the ancestor of the Huang family lived in. "It should be here. Let's go then." Uncle Tian spoke before waving his other hand. Jian Chen could only feel a tremendous amount of power envelop him without any resistance before independently shooting him through the space along with Ming Dong. After the three disappeared, the spatial rend left behind slowly winked out of existence, allowing the space to become normal again. The only difference was that the former three inhabitants of the room had vanished without any of the Heaven Saint Masters in Changyang Manor noticing. At the Huang family's residence on the sword-shaped mountain peak, the ancestor of the Huang family was cultivating as per usual. Pondering on his position over a stool, his expression couldn't help but reveal an expectant look. Ever since Jian Chen had left, he couldn't bring himself to the calm needed to cultivate. All his mind could think about were the words, 5,000-year-old Saint Ruler. After becoming a Saint Ruler for so many years, the ancestor was extremely understanding just how paramount the existence of a 5,000-year-old Saint Ruler was. Such a person like this was even more rare than a commoner getting a glance at one of the ancient clans or finding the feather of a phoenix and the scale of a qilin. On the Tian Yuan continent, whether it was a Heaven Saint Master, Saint Ruler, or an existence above a Saint Ruler, they were all still unable to escape from the shackles of age. On the continent, the average human would only be able to live for 200 years. An Earth Saint Master was expected to live for 500 years, and a Heaven Saint Master for 1,000 years. For a Saint Ruler, they should only be able to live for 3,000 years. Even a ninth-layer Saint Ruler would only be able to live for 3,200 years at most. Unless there was some sort of longevity medicine, it was very hard to break apart this law. In order to live for 5,000 years, one had to make a breakthrough as a Saint Ruler. A Saint Ruler would never be able to live for as long as 5,000 years. Under the heavens, only a Saint King or higher would be able to live for that long of a lifespan. It had been for this reason that when the ancestor had first heard Jian Chen describe this Saint Ruler having reached 5,000 years old, he lost all of his self-control and had even enthusiastically agreed to Jian Chen's request at the risk of offending the Huanggu clan. Just like this, the ancestor sat there for 2 days uneasily. He couldn't calm down enough to cultivate, and in his mind, he was extremely anxious to see whether or not Jian Chen would really be able to bring such a character to help his Huang family. With such a high and mighty existence like this backing the Huang family, they would be able to hold their head up high in front of the ancient clans, let alone such small and insignificant isolated families. Just while the ancestor sat nervously on the stool, he suddenly felt the space in front of him start to warp and distort. Then, a space gate suddenly appeared right in front of the hut where the ancestor lived. 3 people were revealed as they walked out from it. Chapter 524, Grand Elder of Mercenary City. Seeing this tear in the fabric of space occur within his tiny house made the ancestor feel dumbfounded. He had placed a barrier on this mountain so that it would be isolated from the rest of the world. Even a saint ruler wouldn't be able to walk in here without being detected, let alone open a space gate without resistance. Furthermore, this space gate had coincidentally opened up right inside his small home. When his eyes landed upon Jian Chen, who was one of the 3, his eyes began to shine and his body began to tremble. Immediately leaping up from his jade seat, he gave a respectful bow. Junior Huang Tianba pays his respect to senior. The ancestor was so excited that his voice quavered as he spoke. Uncle Tian glanced at the ancestor before turning to ask Jian Chen, "Is this the man?" From his stare, Uncle Tian simply disregarded the ancestor as anyone important despite him being a saint ruler. Jian Chen nodded. Seeing the venerable expression of the ancestor, he couldn't help but laugh to himself in his mind, but his expression was still calm on the outside. "Senior, I've done what you have asked and brought the person in question to you. Is this to your satisfaction?" The ancestor's face started when he heard Jian Chen. Changing from a respectful expression to one that would bow and scrape for favors, he seemed as if he was afraid of infuriating this senior in front of him. After all, having such a high and mighty person come running all the way for such a tiny figure like him was not how a respectful senior should be treated. Brother Jian Chen loves his jokes, so this junior had spoken his own joke. I had no idea that Brother Jian Chen would take it seriously. "Senior, if this junior has offended you for having you brought all the way here, please forgive this one." The ancestor sounded very panicked. A monster of a person who had managed to live for 5,000 years was someone that even the ancient clans wouldn't offend, let alone the ancestor of an isolated family like the Huang. Uncle Tian remained unmoved at the bowing of the head and the bending of the knees of the ancestor and replied indifferently, "There was no harm. I came at Jian Chen's request to resolve a problem. I presume you are the man in question of this problem." At those words, the heart of the ancestor was shocked by Jian Chen's capabilities. In this moment, Jian Chen's status instantly rocketed up in his mind to become a person who he could never offend and also someone who should be roped into his family at all costs. He didn't dare not respond to the ancestor, so he replied with a respectful tone, "Senior's words are too serious. There is no need for Senior to involve himself in this trifling matter, this junior will resolve it himself. If that is right, then that would be for the best. I do not like meddling in the affairs of others, but I have already promised Jian Chen to help. I have listened to your family troubles, so I shall give you this jade piece. Should you ever need me to act, then just crush this in your hand and I'll come within 3 breaths worth of time." A thumb-sized white jade floated from Uncle Tian's hand and slowly moved toward the ancestor. The ancestor's excitement could barely be contained as he took hold of the white jade into his hands. "Many thanks for Senior's generosity." To be able to receive the assistance of a saint king was far too important in meaning to the Huang family. Although he only had this one chance to use it, it would bolster the might of the Huang family and would resolve the issue of the Huang family's conflict with the other saint rulers. The ancestor hesitated for a moment as he looked at Uncle Tian for a moment before carefully asking, "If this junior might ask Senior what to refer to you by, or what affiliation Senior might have so that in the future this junior's meager help may be given." I am known as Tianjian, a Grand Elder of Mercenary City. Your help won't be necessary for now with what power you have. Wait until you become a Saint King, then we'll talk. Uncle Tian spoke. To him, a saint ruler was nothing special, there were plenty of those to be seen in Mercenary City. When the title of being a Grand Elder for Mercenary City was heard to the ancestor, his entire body was suddenly drained of its strength and his knees dropped to the ground after being unable to sustain his body weight. There was panic in his expression, and his heart threatened to leap out from his throat. Looking at Tianjian's face, there was utter disbelief in his expression along with some terror and fear mixed in. As a saint ruler, he was somewhat knowledgeable about the inner workings of Mercenary City despite not being affiliated with it. He was extremely clear on the hierarchy of Mercenary City, how it was ruled, governed, and divided up. Mercenary City was indeed a city, but it wasn't under the jurisdiction of any one area while maintaining the same strength as any other city might have. There was no city ruler as Mercenary City had no need for one of those to keep law and order. The prohibition on fighting was a rule that even saint rulers wouldn't dare violate. The ones who truly held power in Mercenary City were all from a group of elders. These elders were the highest nucleus of power for Mercenary City, and among them, the Grand Elders held the highest position. It was no exaggeration to say that a Grand Elder was the ultimate ruler of Mercenary City. Not only could they mobilize the entirety of Mercenary City, they were the decided people who had the most authority in it. Aside from that, the Grand Elders of Mercenary City were extremely strong. They stood on the forefront of the strongest on the Tianyuan continent and were truly the ones who stood at the top of the power pyramid. Even if he were to dream, the ancestor would never hope to think that Jian Chen would invite a senior that held such unimaginable power. Even the thought had struck a feeling of terror in his heart. Like a wooden chicken, the ancestor just stood there. Despite being a saint ruler, he was nothing but an ant in front of a Grand Elder of Mercenary City. Moving his eyes from the ancestor to Ming Dong affectionately, he smiled, "Child, you should come with me to Mercenary City and stay there for now." "Uncle Tian. I wish to be with Brother Jian Chen for now. I'll stay here." Ming Dong responded. "Very well. All you lack is experience right now. Following Jian Chen would make you stronger than staying in Mercenary City." Tianjian nodded. Just then, Ming Dong suddenly thought of something and his eyes began to sparkle. "Uncle Tian, the Shi family and the Jie clan are both enemies of ours. Our sworn brother has been forced by them in the past. You might as well settle the problem with those two families. If the experts of their families come, the two of us wouldn't have enough strength to fight them." Tianjian shook his head. "Child, you cannot leave every single problem for your uncle to resolve. If there comes a day when I am not around, how will you survive on the Tianyuan continent? Right now, you must learn to overcome any difficulties and troubles you come across yourself." Although he was lecturing Ming Dong, Tianjian's voice was very soft and did not sound too harsh. It gave off the grandfatherly feeling of benevolence. "Yes, Uncle Tian." Ming Dong spoke with some helplessness and disappointment. "Now that the problem has been taken care of, I will be returning to Mercenary City. Will you be staying here in the Jessen Kingdom?" Tianjian asked. Ming Dong had said nothing and instead looked to Jian Chen. Jian Chen took a moment to think about it. "Senior, we will be staying here for some time." Tianjian said nothing and instead lifted his palms up to part the space once more. Within 2 breaths worth of time, a giant building could be seen on the other side of the space gate before he disappeared into it. At this sight, Jian Chen's eyes revealed a deep look of yearning. Tianjian's usage of space was something that was perfected to the highest level. With such capabilities like this, one would be able to travel anywhere under the heavens without wasting time or money to travel on the road. With Jian Chen's current strength, he could only yearn for this power for now. A spot where Tianjian resided was a spot where Jian Chen could only look forward to. After all, that was a position where even a saint ruler had to bow and scrape his knee. The ancestor watched the ancestor leave with a stunned expression. A little absent-mindedly, he muttered, "So that is the strength of a saint king, they can tear apart the space to travel millions of kilometers." Shortly afterward, the ancestor looked to the jade piece held in his hand and began to grow excited. In this moment of observation, this jade piece was 1,000 times more precious than any other treasure under the heavens. None other could compare to this one. The ancestor took out an exquisite jade case from his space ring and gently placed the jade piece into it for safekeeping. This jade piece could be used to summon a Grand Elder of Mercenary City. Even if it was only a single use, it was still priceless in value since it equated to an unbelievable amount of might. After putting away the jade piece, the ancestor exhaled. It took him a long time to calm down because his heart was still beating rapidly. It was at this moment that he discovered with some shock that his entire forehead was drenched with sweat. Wiping away the sweat on his forehead, the ancestor looked to Jian Chen and Ming Dong with a complicated stare. Despite Ming Dong only being an Earth Saint Master, Ming Dong was essentially the ancestor of his own family in the eyes of the ancestor. He had witnessed how Ming Dong had referred to Tianjian all too clearly. Even with the ancestor in such a state of doubtful panic, Jian Chen laughed and spoke to him, "Senior, would it be possible for you to rescind the engagement between Miss Huanger and the Huanggu clan?" Yes, of course." The ancestor hurried to respond. Now that the ancestor knew that Jian Chen and Ming Dong were both backed by a Grand Elder from Mercenary City, his attitude toward them both drastically changed. Even now, there was a bit of a fawning tone to it that disregarded his own status. Chapter 525, The Young Lady Offering a Kiss. Now that Huang Luan's situation was finally done and over with, Jian Chen's face had a smile on it. However, his heart knew that everything was thanks to Ming Dong. If not for his intimate connection with Uncle Tian, Jian Chen never would have been able to persuade Uncle Tian to help him. Yet Jian Chen was also extremely shocked at the status of Uncle Tian. A Grand Elder of Mercenary City. Although he had no idea just how noble of a position that was in Mercenary City, he could pretty much guess just how prestigious a Grand Elder was. Afterward, Jian Chen and Ming Dong both left the mountain peak with the ancestor accompanying them. After experiencing what he had just went through, the ancestor's attitude toward Jian Chen and Ming Dong had completely changed. He even unexpectedly accompanied Jian Chen and Ming Dong as they flew through the air. Even his status of being a saint ruler had been forgotten with how he laughed and smiled as he talked with them on the way to the villa. The three finally came to a stop right in front of the center of the halls. At the same time, plenty of Heaven Saint Masters had already begun to gather here from every corner of the villa. After gathering in the halls, everyone knelt down to the ground and cried out, "We pay our respects to the ancestor." It seemed that on the way, the ancestor had managed to pass a message to a few of them. "Everyone, stand up and come in. This old man has an announcement to make." Throwing out his words, the ancestor swished his robes around as he strode into the hall where all the important matters were discussed. Every single Heaven Saint Master within the Huang family looked at each other before turning to look at Jian Chen, who was standing right next to the ancestor. Their hearts shook as if they had started to connect the dots. The Huang family had lived in isolation for many thousands of years, so the amount of Heaven Saint Masters they had wasn't a small number. At least 13 of these Heaven Saint Masters were seeing Jian Chen for the first time. They were all people who held an important position in the family. Only those who had usually remained in seclusion to cultivate or the two representatives of the Huang family had seen Jian Chen before. Very quickly, everyone gathered in the halls. The 13 Heaven Saint Masters sat quietly on their chairs on both sides of the hall. Reverently, they looked to the ancestor seated ahead of them. Under the idea of the ancestor, Jian Chen and Ming Dong both sat right next to him in the closest seats possible. Most of the people there were already clear on Jian Chen's status as the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom and truly possessed the right to sit where he was. But an Earth Saint Master like Ming Dong seated in such a position caused many people to question just why he was there. However, no one had dared to voice any objections since it was at the request of the ancestor. It was only in their hearts that they tried to guess Ming Dong's identity or which family he was the young master to. The ancestor said nothing about the matter and instead moved straight to the main topic at hand. This old man has called you all here today for an announcement. The ancestor stopped for a moment as his eyes observed the several individuals of the Huang family with bright eyes. From here on out, Huang Luan's betrothment to the Huanggu clan is now absolved. Have someone sent to the Huanggu clan to tell them of this news. At the voice of the ancestor, plenty of people began to blanch while a few of them revealed faint smiles on their faces. To them, the only reason why their ancestor would annul the betrothment with the Huanggu clan would be for the reason that he had found an even stronger power to ally themselves with. An imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom would be such an example. Ancestor, this is an extremely important matter. If we were to unilaterally agree to annul the betrothment, it would be a great slap to the faces of the Huanggu clan. There is no way that they won't feel dissatisfied with us. This is a situation where our friendship with the Huanggu would become irrevocably destroyed. An elder spoke seriously. Elder Ping speaks correctly. Ancestor, annulling the betrothment is something we should absolutely avoid. Our family has enjoyed several hundred years of friendly relations with the Huanggu clan, and they have taken to Huang Luan with great interest. With this, the Huanggu family's friendship with our Huang family would be ruined. Please reconsider, ancestor. Another elder spoke in agreement to not annul the betrothment. The gleam in the ancestor's eyes suddenly grew ferocious as he gave a sharp stare to the two elders, Ping Qiao, Huang Yingran. This old man knows that your relations with the Huanggu clan is quite decent, but this old man has already made a decision. I will not change my mind, and neither will you two say any more about this. The ancestor's voice was firm and decisive without leaving behind any margin to talk back. This made everyone who heard the ancestor give up on trying to convince him to change his mind. At this, no one made any more objections. Even those who had decent relations with the Huanggu clan and wished to help them had no other choice but to close their mouths shut. I've already made up my mind on this. Dispatch someone to let the Huanggu clan know. Be sure to give them some gifts to compensate for this. The ancestor spoke. Yes, ancestor. Everyone replied. Then the ancestor made a second announcement. And now this old man has another announcement to make. From here on out, our friends Jian Chen and Ming Dong will be our most honored guests of the Huang family. Every person must ensure to be on their best behavior without any delay or risk this old man's punishment. With that, the ancestor's voice grew harsh. These two brats had the backing of a grand elder from Mercenary City, making them people who could not be offended by any means. The ancestor had long since made his decision to do his best to rope these two into his group. Everyone seated down below was stupefied as they looked in shock toward Ming Dong. They hadn't expected the ancestor to place so much importance on Ming Dong. Jian Chen was an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom, so he was to be expected to receive such treatment. But Ming Dong's identity was something that everyone was completely curious about now. The ancestor had not introduced Ming Dong since he himself did not have much understanding of him. He had only known Ming Dong's name because Jian Chen had said it before. After the ancestor had finished, Ming Dong had seemed to have gained an extremely high position within the family despite being an outsider. This forced every single Heaven Saint Master to be extremely polite to an Earth Saint Master like Ming Dong, but an act like this was practically unprecedented in their family history. After the meeting was over, the ancestor did not return to his mountain to cultivate, and instead prepared a banquet to personally receive Jian Chen and Ming Dong. This action of the ancestor yet again caused every single Heaven Saint Master there to drop their jaws wide open in shock. A prestigious Saint ruler personally receiving an Earth Saint Master was an absolutely fantastic story to hear about on the continent. Every single individual from the Huang family grew even more curious to what status Ming Dong held as a result. However, they could not directly inquire about Ming Dong and were left to conjecture to themselves in chaos because the ancestor had told them to speak no more about the subject. Jian Chen did not participate in the banquet and instead bade farewell to the Huang family to walk to Huang Luan's pavilion. He wanted to personally report the news to her. Jian Chen walked into the pavilion without obstruction and walked straight up to the second floor. This time, Jian Chen did not smell that same sweet scent from 2 days ago. That enchanting smell that had intoxicated his senses had completely vanished now. Jian Chen's eyes swept around the room before catching sight of Huang Luan's figure. All he could see was Huang Luan's figure wearing a black cheongsam similar to the one from 2 days ago. Still seated by the window by herself, she stared out at the scenery beyond in a daze without being conscious of the environment around her. Even Jian Chen's entrance had gone unnoticed by her. Noticing that Huang Luan had not noticed him come in, Jian Chen sighed to himself. He could already imagine just how damaging the news of her being betrothed to the Huanggu family was to her heart. She was practically beside herself as a result. It was a good thing that this problem was now done and over with. "Miss Huang Luan," Jian Chen called out. At this sudden call, Huang Luan was so startled that she jumped up. Her dainty body gave a violent whirl to turn anxiously toward Jian Chen. She knew in her heart that whether or not she would be able to leave this pavilion in joy in the future was solely up to Jian Chen's words. Seeing the anxious look on her face, Jian Chen couldn't help but break out into a faint smile. "Miss Huang Luan, I am very happy to say that your problem is now solved. Your ancestor has already annulled the betrothment between you and the Huanggu clan. You don't need to be so vexed about this situation anymore." Huang Luan's face instantly went sluggish before quickly being replaced with joy. Her entire body began to tremble and shake violently with emotions as she spoke excitedly. Really? You wouldn't be kidding with me, would you? Has the ancestor truly annulled the betrothment?" In this short time, her heart had been worried without reprieve. Her betrothment to the second master of the Huanggu clan was a curse and a tight shackle that bounded her body and tormented her. Not only did she not wish to be wed to the second master of that clan, she already had someone she loved in her heart. This man in her heart was far superior, far more outstanding, and was practically the living personification of perfection. Right now, these shackles and curses that had been placed on her body had practically vanished, by the one she loved no less. This was something that made her so moved that she couldn't contain herself. Although she didn't know just what method Jian Chen had used to change the ancestor's mind, her nimble mind understood one thing. If the ancestor was willing to offend the Huanggu clan by rescinding the betrothment, what Jian Chen had done was no minor task. Of course it's true. If you don't believe me, you can go outside and see for yourself. Jian Chen smiled. 2 teardrops stole away from Huang Luan's eyes as she charged straight for Jian Chen like an arrow. With both arms tossed around Jian Chen to hug him, she stood on her tiptoes. Under the stunned eyes of Jian Chen, her delicate cherry-red mouth locked with Jian Chen's own lips. Chapter 526, Deep Feelings. With this sudden in-the-moment kiss from Huang Lua, Jian Chen's mind had instantly gone blank. He stood there for a very long time. This was the very first intimate action a female had effectuated with him in both his lifetimes. The tip of his nose could practically smell the unique womanly scent of Huang Luan, while a wonderful sensation he had never experienced before could be felt. It sent his mind into chaos. At this moment, Jian Chen was utterly confounded and did not know how to react. Perhaps it had been because Huang Luan had suppressed her emotions for Jian Chen for far too long, for they had suddenly come bursting out in this moment like the eruption of a volcano. Fierce beyond fierce and unstoppable in its motions, her body passed all of her intensity through this one kiss, releasing all of the worry she had accumulated in her heart. This would be the very first time Jian Chen would experience such a thing. He hadn't even time to bring a hand up to stop her and was now at a complete loss. Even after realizing what was happening, Jian Chen's heart had begun to leap erratically after feeling Huang Luan's soft tongue press against his. Even his usually drawn-out breathing had become coarse. Although Jian Chen had never thought about having to do anything with love, he was still a healthy male in the end. Huang Luan herself was very beautiful. In fact, she was devastatingly beautiful. Even under the heavens, she was very remarkable. So when such a beautiful woman offered a kiss, even Jian Chen wasn't able to keep his calm. The hidden and deep feelings within Jian Chen had finally ignited, forcing Jian Chen to close his eyes. Jian Chen's arms suddenly flew out to grasp onto Huang Luan's soft flesh and embrace her tightly to his body. Even through the thin clothes of Huang Luan, Jian Chen could feel the intense heat from her body, causing his heart to surge with emotions. With their kiss, the two of them stuck close to each other. Jian Chen had been lit aflame due to Huang Luan's initiative, therefore, he had responded passionately. At this current moment, they had thrown out everything else to enjoy the pleasure of the moment. A good while after, the two finally split apart. Huang Luan was still holding onto Jian Chen with both arms, but her head was tilted up to stare tenderly at Jian Chen's handsome face. As if obsessed, her head slowly leaned against Jian Chen's shoulder as she closed her eyes to feel the warmth of his body with her own. Jian Chen let out a drawn-out sigh as he calmed himself down. Allowing Huang Luan to rest on his shoulders, he lowered his head slightly to study this beauty, who seemed to be sleeping soundly, with a complicated expression. After a while, Jian Chen let another sigh to the ceiling and spoke, "Luaner, won't you regret what just happened? Am I truly worth your love?" Huang Luan's eyes slowly opened to stare lovingly at Jian Chen. With a shake of her head, she spoke, "I won't. For this entire lifetime, I won't regret this at all." Jian Chen. Tell me, am I truly in your heart? Huang Luan stared in anticipation. Jian Chen sighed and stared at Huang Luan with a complicated look. He was silent for a while before finally responding, "Luaner, I have no answer to give to you now. From the start, I never thought about settling down. There is far too much weight on my shoulders, and the pressure I face is tremendous as well. All I want right now is a way to become stronger." Huang Luan shook her head, "Jian Chen, that doesn't matter. Luaner is willing to wait. I'll wait, even if I have to wait until the end of time. Forever I will wait, forever." Jian Chen was taken aback. It was at this moment that his mind shook fiercely. Just how did he never realize that Huang Luan's feelings for him had reached such an unbelievably deep level? However, he did not respond. He merely wrapped his arms around Huang Luan's back and began to take in the scent coming from her body. Today would be the very first time he was ever intimate with a female, and today would also be the very first time he would hug the delicate body of a young woman. Such an experience left an impact on Jian Chen. The very beauty of the sensation ingrained itself within Jian Chen's soul and branded itself into his mind. He would never forget this moment. If that were the case, then he might as well add more to preserve this moment even more. Together in this room, the two of them let this comfortable feeling envelope them. Time in this serene moment was completely forgotten by this bewitched couple. After an indeterminate amount of time, the sounds of footsteps could be heard coming up the pavilion. Then, the hurried voice of a middle-aged man could be heard, "Luaner, are you there? Your father has some good news to tell you." Upon hearing his voice, the two were like startled rabbits as they split apart from one another. Smoothing their clothes and returning to their normal expressions, they tried to pretend that nothing had happened. The family head Huang Qinglan came walking into the pavilion with a succinct white robe when Jian Chen and Huang Luan saw him. With a smile, he spoke, "Luaner, your father has some good news to tell you. After you hearing this, you'll definitely." While he was speaking, the family head suddenly realized that Jian Chen had beaten him here. He instantly grew stunned enough to pause mid-speech. "Lord Huang." Jian Chen cupped his hands nonchalantly with a smile on his face. The head of the family regained his wits at that moment and gave an even wider smile. Cupping his hands in return, he spoke, "I did not think the Imperial Protector would be here. This matter was all thanks to the help of the Imperial Protector, and now Luaner will be trouble-free. The Lord is too courteous. Miss Huang Luan is merely a good friend of this one. If she were to come across any trouble, this one should help anyways." Jian Chen answered. The head of the family smiled, but his eyes hovered between Jian Chen and Huang Luan in observation. Despite the two of them pretending that nothing had happened, the man was experienced in such matters and could detect a few peculiarities. What made the man overjoyed was the fact that Jian Chen's eyes were completely different than before. They had changed so that Jian Chen was now looking at him like a future son-in-law looking to his father-in-law. "I presume that the Imperial Protector has already told Luaner the news. If that is the case, I have nothing more to say." With that, the man turned to look at Huang Luan. "Luaner, the Imperial Protector has wasted no small efforts on this matter. Even our ancestor has made an effort on this matter in person. You must make sure to express your thanks to him. Your daughter understands." Huang Luan spoke with a voice as low as a mosquito. "Take your time to chat. I have some other matters to take care of, so I shall take my leave first." Huang Qinglan didn't have any intention to stay here any longer, so he quickly left the pavilion. After Huang Qinglan left, only Jian Chen and Huang Luan were left. For a while, neither of the two spoke, creating a rather awkward atmosphere. It was finally after a moment of silence that Huang Luan spoke. "Jian Chen, you brought the Qinhuang kingdom into this now, will they truly help you in this matter though? Don't worry. The Qinhuang kingdom has no relation to this matter at all. I have another extremely strong senior that has come to help us. This senior's might is far stronger than the Qinhuang kingdom, so your ancestor was more than willing to agree as well." Jian Chen spoke. Huang Luan's heart was moved once more. She knew just how difficult it was to invite any strong senior to make an appearance for anyone. Aside from having a very close relationship, one would have to pay a disastrous price for their help. Jian Chen remained in Huang Luan's room for some time before finally leaving. Then at the behest of the ancestor of the Huang family, he remained for another day. On the next day, he and Ming Dong both bade farewell to Huang Luan and the ancestor to head back to the Jessen kingdom. "Friends Jian Chen and Ming Dong, this old man knows about the burned bridge between you and the sect of Dragon and Tiger. I shall give these 2 twin jade pieces to you. If the saint ruler tries to do something, just crush these jade pieces and this old man will come as soon as I can to help." The ancestor spoke as he handed 2 thumb-sized jade pieces to Jian Chen and Ming Dong. After knowing of the intimate connection between the two and the Grand Elder of Mercenary City, the ancestor had spared no effort to get on the good side of the two. With this method, the Huang family could possibly scale the giant tree that was the Grand Elder and perhaps gain the same treatment that the ancient clans would usually receive. Many thanks for senior's kindness. This one will remember it. Jian Chen took the jade piece happily. Over these past days, the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger had weighed constantly on Jian Chen's mind. Right now the ancestor was definitely willing to help stop the saint ruler from the sect. This was a very good way to resolve his biggest problem at hand. Ha ha ha. My friend Jian Chen is far too polite. If there is ever any need for my Huang family, then please just ask. Our family will do our best to assist. The elder couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 527, Murky Skies. Jian Chen and Ming Dong both left the Huang family. However, Ming Dong was not a heaven saint master and could not fly through the sky, therefore, Jian Chen needed to carry him. Seeing how his legs trailed behind him through the sky, Ming Dong had a yearning look on his face. With a sigh of admiration, he spoke, "Jian Chen, being a heaven saint master seems great. Not only can you fly through the sky, you can go fast and at your own leisure as well. I really hope that I can hurry up and become a heaven saint master." Jian Chen could only chuckle in response. "What are you hurrying for? Being able to become a sixth cycle Earth Saint Master at your young age is not something most can do. With your current strength, I don't even know just how many people are envious of it. There's only a short amount of time before you become a Heaven Saint Master anyways. Give it 2 years or so before you become one. For now, just focus on refining your foundation and listen to Uncle Tian, you can't go wrong listening to him. I know that much as well, but when I see just how easily you all fly through the sky, I feel an urgent feeling in my heart. I simply want nothing more than to become a Heaven Saint Master, that way, I will be able to fly through the air by myself." Ming Dong spoke. "That day isn't too far away. It's been half a year already, all that remains is another 2.5 years. That's not a long time, it'll come quickly." Jian Chen replied. You're right, I just can't wait until that day, that's all." Ming Dong spoke with an expectant look on his face. Becoming a Heaven Saint Master was a dream for every single cultivator that had not yet reached such a realm. Suddenly, Ming Dong remembered something. His eyes turned to look at Jian Chen with a gleam. "Ah, Jian Chen, just what happened between you and Huang Luan now?" Jian Chen immediately thought about the lingering emotions he had felt between him and Huang Luan within her pavilion. A complicated expression arose on his face as he grew quiet. "Let's not talk about that, I've no time to consider settling down. I've still plenty of things to do and plenty of responsibilities to shoulder still." "Is it because of the Shi and Jie families?" Ming Dong asked with a serious expression. The Shi family and the Jie clan were both problems that Uncle Tian had been unwilling to resolve, leaving the problem to Jian Chen and Ming Dong to resolve by themselves. With saint rulers holding a position in both families, the two powers held a significant amount of pressure over Jian Chen and Ming Dong. Jian Chen gave a curt nod. "Back then, I killed the experts of the Shi family and Jie clan and even destroyed the ruler armaments from their families. This has led me into a never-ending cycle with them, and since I am not a saint ruler, I simply have no way to defend myself against them." Saint ruler. Upon hearing those two words, Ming Dong showed a look of yearning on his face. The enticement brought forth from the power of a saint ruler was truly too great. This was simply a whole new domain to step into. Jian Chen, Uncle Tian once said that to become a saint ruler, one must be able to comprehend the mysteries of the world. Are you attempting to understand them now as an aside? Ming Dong asked. Jian Chen shook his head. Understanding the mysteries of the world requires a foundation built off of the energy of the world. As long as one reaches a pinnacle state with their control over the energy of the world, they will be able to touch and start to comprehend the mysteries of the world. Although my power of thought is far stronger than any other Heaven Saint Master, my comprehension over the energy of the world is still superficial and nowhere close to being able to understand the mysteries of the world. When the day comes for me to reach a deep level of comprehension, I will naturally try to understand the domain that is the mysteries of the world. But this is a path with no shortcuts. Ming Dong revealed a crestfallen look, so it seems that we can only take one step at a time then. 2 days later, Jian Chen and Ming Dong finally returned to Changyang Manor. Xiao Tian and the others had been extremely curious on how they had managed to disappear so suddenly. It was because of their extreme confidence in Jian Chen's strength that they did not panic when the two had disappeared. However, they did wonder just what business was so important for the two to disappear so out of the blue. No one found it prudent to ask where Jian Chen had gone off to, for they simply had no right to ask. Even Jian Chen's parents Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian did not ask Jian Chen. As parents, they knew that their own child had already matured to become an independent man capable of doing his own thing. His own position and responsibilities were no longer within the domain of the two. After exchanging several words of greeting with everyone, Jian Chen walked by himself to his own personal hall. Increasing in speed, his footsteps finally took him to his expansive bedroom where his bed was. Seated at the head of the bed was the white tiger cub with its head still drooped down in slumber. By its side were several thousand-year-old ginseng and other ingredients. Seeing the scant amount of heavenly resources left, Jian Chen revealed a worried look on his face. I left a large pile of heavenly resources, but now there's only a small amount remaining. The tiger cub's appetite grows more and more each day. With that, Jian Chen retrieved another pile of heavenly resources and placed them beside the cub before walking out. Afterward, Jian Chen remained in the Changyang clan for 2 days. In those 2 days, he spent the time with his group of friends and the Princess Yulan within the interior of the manor. On the second day, Qin Ji had received a letter from the Qinhuang kingdom, prompting him to return to the Qinhuang kingdom as soon as possible. Having received the letter, Qin Ji had no plans to stay in Changyang Manor any longer. Bidding farewell to Jian Chen, he and the 5 other imperial advisors made an impromptu exit. However, Xiao Tian, the other 4 imperial advisors, and the 3 generals remained behind. A party of the Eastern deity soldiers remained stationed in Lore City while another party had been garrisoned at the Changyang clan. Jian Chen wore an expensive white robe as he accompanied Sans and his mother around the area. Sans and his mother had received a cordial level of treatment from Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian, causing the son and mother pair to gain a high level of treatment within the clan. They had been given their own courtyard and servants to wait on them. The head caretaker of the clan, Chang Wuji, had even stipulated that the expenditures from the two would be footed by the Changyang clan, and a specialized group of soldiers would stand guard over the two. Such a treatment like this was basically on par with the treatment of the master of the family, Changyang Ba. Sans and his mother had been very well behaved and had lived in content within the Changyang clan. Although they would stroll outside of the manor to see the hustle and bustle of Lore City, they would never buy anything. When Jian Chen found Sans and his mother, it seemed the two were in discussion. Their eyebrows were creased together, and there was a thoughtful but embarrassed look on their faces. "Auntie, Sans, have you become accustomed to living here yet? If there is anything you need, please seek Uncle Chang. Uncle Chang will make sure to meet your expectations." Jian Chen smiled. Jian Chen's sudden visit caused Sans and his mother to be surprised. Bolting upright, they said respectfully, "We pay our respects to the 4th master." The mother even bent over in salute. In their short time within the Changyang clan, Sans and his mother gained a deep understanding of the character Jian Chen. They knew that his status within the clan was as high as it could possibly be, and that he was also the imperial protector of the Jessen kingdom. Such a tremendous difference in status between him and them caused the mother and son to feel extremely panicked. "Auntie, Sans, we are all family here, there is no need to be too polite." Jian Chen used his mind to control the energy of the world and temporarily freeze the area around the mother and son so that they could not bow to him any longer. The two of them were the family of Kendall, just how could Jian Chen let them bow to him? Jian Chen walked freely over to the nearby table and sat down with a smile. "Auntie, Sans, come and sit. I saw you two talking earlier, was there something troubling you?" The mother and son hesitated for a moment before Sans finally said something first. "4th master, my mother and I are extremely grateful for your consideration for our well-being, but the two of us had already grown accustomed to our ordinary lives from before. Living here like this is still a bit strange, so my mother and I wish to move out." Jian Chen's eyebrows creased together as he listened, but before he could speak, the mother beat him to it. "4th master, my son is correct. The two of us are not ones to live our lives in luxury and nobility. We truly cannot adjust ourselves to such a lifestyle. I wish to use the savings I have to purchase an inn in Lore City and continue my days working there if the fourth master allows it. Jian Chen continued to think for a moment, but in the end he valued the opinion of the two and sighed, very well then. If Auntie and Sans wished to live such a lifestyle, I can only support your endeavors. Auntie, I will have Uncle Chang take care of the arrangements, so you needn't worry about the matters with the inn for now. An extremely far distance away from the Jessen kingdom, a suspended shrine could be seen floating 100 meters up in an empty space. Grand Elder, we have recently discovered the men from the Bloodsword sect moving about, but they are mostly moving around the coastal areas in frequent amounts. An elder cupped his hands respectfully. Right in front of him was a middle-aged man that floated in mid-air. This was the Uncle Tian of Mingdong, Tian Jian. Bloodsword sect. Tian Jian's eyebrows narrowed together. It has been 1,000 years since their last movement on the continent. If they're appearing now near the coast, just what in the world are they planning? Grand Elder, could the Bloodsword sect possibly be planning something big? Another elder wondered aloud. Muttering to himself, Tian Jian spoke, it has been 1,000 years since Houston retired from the Tian Yuan continent to live in seclusion without a care for the continent. If the Bloodsword sect is appearing out of nowhere now, Tian Jian's eyes narrowed as he thought. After a while, Tian Jian sighed and smoothed out his eyebrows. 23rd Elder, from now on, report these matters to the 2nd and 3rd Elder. There is no need to report to me. Yes, Grand Elder. The elder retreated afterward. After the elder had left, Tian Jian's legs fell to the ground to let him walk. His hands were placed behind his back as he stared at the murky sky with a spellbound look. Chapter 528, The Huanggu clan within the Changyang clan. Jian Chen gathered Mingdong, Dugufeng, Yunzheng, and Senior and all together around a round table. Jian Chen looked around the table with a glint before clearing up his thoughts. After muttering to himself, he said, now that the problems of the Jessen kingdom are all but resolved, we all should start to do our own things now. Mingdong's eyes sparkled. Jian Chen, are you talking about the flame mercenaries? Correct, the flame mercenaries is exactly what I'm talking about. Jian Chen continued, I returned to the Jessen kingdom after such a long time, but I also had plans to see just how much the flame mercenaries have developed. Yet, with so many problems that got in the way, I had no time to go and check on the mercenaries until today. With everything said and done with, I shall make use of my remaining energy to manage the flame mercenaries. Jian Chen, just where did you establish this mercenary group? I have never heard of it before, let alone know how strong it is. Yunzheng asked. I didn't create the flame mercenaries, I am just merely the second captain. It's been 2 years since I left, so if they didn't change locations, they should still be in Wake City of Blue Wind Kingdom. As for their strength. At this point, Jian Chen had an embarrassed smile on his face. Well, wait until you see it, you'll understand then. Huh, Jian Chen. I've heard that you owned a mercenary group, but I have never heard of it either. We should head to Wake City so I can see just what this mercenary group of yours is like. Mingdong chuckled. When do we leave? Dugufeng spoke. Compared to everyone else, he was more detached. Even when he was speaking, his face was expressionless. Hearing that, Jian Chen muttered, before we head to Wake City, I wish to go somewhere else first. You should all stay in Changyang Manor for a while. Wait for me to return, then we'll head out. Afterward, when everyone was about to leave, Jian Chen pulled Mingdong aside. Mingdong, you come with me. I want to introduce a friend to you. Alright, where to then? Mingdong asked succinctly. Kargath Academy. Jian Chen and Mingdong both left the Changyang clan with Jian Chen carrying him to Kargath Academy. To the south, there was a forest where magical beasts could be found littered everywhere. This forest was known as the Misty Forest since there was a dense layer of mist covering the forest throughout the entire year. The deeper one went into the forest, the more dense the mist got, making it very easy for a person to get lost. According to the records left behind by those before, the Misty Forest used to be an ordinary forest with a decent amount of magical beasts residing within it. But 1,000 years later, a sudden mist rolled into it for no reason at all. At first everyone had been curious to know the reason why it appeared, prompting plenty of braggarts and strong mercenaries to head into the forest to investigate. From all that tried, not a single one had returned. The disappearance of anyone that left for the forest did not strike fear into the hearts of the mercenaries. Instead, it had bolstered them and caused even more mercenaries to believe that there was some sort of treasure within the forest. Spurred by their greedy hearts, plenty of mercenary groups had banded together to form a large-scale attempt to scour the entire forest. After several days, only a meager few heavily injured men came stumbling out from the forest despite thousands of people enter it. All of them had repeated the same shocking information: within the abyss of the forests, there was Class 6 magical beasts. This piece of information was like a clap of thunder to the hearts of every mercenary there. The cities around the Misty Forest were all second and third class cities where a Class 5 magical beast was already far too strong of an entity. A Class 6 magical beast was an entity they could only look up to. A beast like that could destroy a second-class city with ease. All of the surrounding kingdoms had quickly received this information, prompting them all to dispatch plenty of Heaven Saint Masters. They were to rapidly respond to the abyss of the Misty Forest in hopes of killing and extracting their monster cores. On the Tian Yuan continent, Class 6 magical beasts were existences that only lived in the Cross Mountains. In the eyes of humanity, the Cross Mountains were a forbidden zone where anyone beneath a Heaven Saint Master was guaranteed to die there. Thus, Class 6 magical beasts were very rare to see outside of it. Whenever one did appear, every nearby party would immediately head out to hunt it. Every single Heaven Saint Master that had gone into the forest had come out with dismayed expressions without exception. There had been no sounds of battle the entire time they were in the forest, leaving every single spectator who were looking forward to seeing the Heaven Saint Masters battle, disappointed. The deterrence brought forth by the Misty Forest had multiplied in the hearts of the mercenaries because of this situation. Soon, rumors were spread throughout the land, and although they weren't enough to shake the continent, practically every single person within hundreds of thousands of kilometers knew about the situation. From that moment on, every mercenary knew that there was something hidden within the Misty Forest that scared even Heaven Saint Masters away. While many mercenaries would still hunt for magical beasts in the Misty Forest, they would stay in the outer area. No one dared to go deeper in it. Aside from the Heaven Saint Masters who entered the forest, not a single person would be able to imagine that hidden within the deepest parts of the forest would be a giant building. There were several other buildings built around it, but the mist never reached into the area of these buildings. Within the center of these buildings, there was a single tower that was about 1 kilometer in height. On the first story, several elders could be seen smiling and chatting. Among this group were the elders Feng and Yun from the Huang family. Elder Feng, Elder Yun, it is rare to see the two of you come by my Huanggu family. Why don't you stay for some time within my household? A crane-hairstyled elder spoke. This elder wore a plain white robe, but there was the air of a scholar to him. Lord Jiang, the two of us always come by here for a reason. This time, it is for an important matter. Elder Feng spoke with a difficult expression as if he found what he was about to say quite embarrassing. Just what matter could it be for you two elders to personally come running over? Did the Hongfu clan do something new? The head of the Huanggu clan asked. Elder Feng shook his head before taking out a letter from his space ring to give to the head. Lord Jiang, please take a look. The head of the Huanggu clan took the letter and opened it up. When he saw the inner contents of the letter, the smile on his face was wiped away, forming a difficult expression. With a low voice, he said, "Your Huang family has decided to absolve the betrothment?" Elder Feng, Elder Yun, just what is the meaning of your Huang family? The two elders revealed apologetic smiles as they cupped their hands. Lord Jiang, please calm yourself. This decision came from our ancestor himself. Upon hearing mention of the ancestor, the face of Lord Jiang grew even more serious. Tossing the letter onto the table, he spoke with a still difficult expression. Elders, what does your ancestor mean by this? This betrothment was suggested to us by him, and now he wishes to cancel it. Does he see my Huanggu clan as something to tease? Lord Jiang, we truly are sorry. There is already another in the heart of our young miss, so our Huang family does not wish to forcibly break her heart. Thus, this betrothment should be dropped. If we offended the Huanggu clan in any way, please forgive us. Elder Yun spoke apologetically. What kind of young lord could your young miss possibly fall in love with that would have your ancestor break off this betrothment? The head of the Huanggu clan inquired. The man our young miss has taken a liking to is the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom. Elder Feng spoke with a faint smile. His heart could already predict just what type of expression the head of the Huanggu clan would make. Sure enough, upon hearing mention of the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom, the face of the man showed some fear run through it. Then he revealed a cold smile. Is that so? So your Huang family has found the tree known as the Qinhuang kingdom to climb. Indeed, with the Qinhuang kingdom, your Huang family wouldn't fear the threat known as the Hongfu clan. There was fury that could barely be contained within the Lord's heart. The young Miss Huang Luan possessed an exceptional talent. At the age of 20 she had already reached the realm of an Earth Saint Master. This was something the Huanggu clan had highly favored. They had tried an infinitesimal amount of ways to get her into their clan, but the Huang family had constantly rejected them. It was finally after half a year when the Hongfu clan greatly changed that caused the Huang family to feel pressured. It had been so much that they had taken the initiative to try and link their family to the Huanggu clan by marriage in an attempt to combine their power to deter the Hongfu clan from starting anything. This proposal had been something that the Huanggu clan had been all too happy to accept. If their Huanggu clan could join with the Huang family, then their combined power could plateau with the Hongfu clan and scare them away from attacking. In the case that a fight broke out while the two sides were of equal strengths, then it would only lead to an internecine aftermath. There was no way the Hongfu clan would dare risk that. It could be said that this marriage between the Huang family and the Huanggu clan was for the sake of military deterrence and not for actual warfare with the Hongfu clan. For that reason, the Huanggu clan had been delighted to agree to this marriage. Now that the Huang family had decided to break off this marriage, the leader of the Huanggu clan was all too displeased. They had valued Huang Luan quite highly and the person she was supposed to be married to was the dearly loved son of Lord Jiang. There was no way he wouldn't be angry about this. Elders, please excuse yourselves. I must bring this matter to my ancestor to report so that he may speak to your own ancestor for the reason. Lord Jiang waved his hand with a temperament similar to the way an emperor would expel foreigners from his lands. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.